First floor.
Thank you, Brian. Everybody's always like. "Oh,
Good job.
Are you gonna introduce Shane?
I mean, somebody will, sure. It could be me, you, it's probably you over in the wiki.
Do you want to do it or?
Well, you're gonna be involved in this because you're gonna follow him.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who you are. So yeah, do you want to officially introduce him and say he's been working with Councilman Nowicki and Greenblatt? It's okay.
Sounds good.
You can script it out for you. No, something tells me that you're not shy about it.
10 o'clock emails.
Wait, what?
10 o'clock emails?
Is that all? Is that all it was?
Yeah.
And only 3 months late.
Well, that's, no comment.
Nice.
Stick around for your.
Big shots falling down.
Just in case. But I'll be quick. I mean, I should be 55, 60 minutes, but not.
No, started. No.
Last
Wednesday. Yeah. That's my birthday.
Yes.
I am sure.
It was the first time that all five started.
You can only certain fleas, so like. It's fun to have leads there too, so. Anyways, just starting work. Jane Powell?
No.
Thank you for telling me. Why would I know?
And then the following day.
Yeah.
Did you go away?
I didn't think you guys paid. On this, I see your lady.
Yeah, was that sort of?
Final minute.
Yeah, that's.
I'm a little once water in the car, you know, we're back and said, what's the square? Anyway, that's.
10 seconds.
Okay, that just was, we get into that.
That just.
She's doing the same.
Figures. Where did he go? That's the question. Where did he go? Vegas here.
Right.
Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and the New Co-Star on December the 18th of 2025. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the municipal clerk. Please be advised, public attendance for meetings through Zoom is not mandatory and a courtesy only. If for any reason Zoom fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption and action can and will be taken, providing that there is an in-person quorum. Mr. Noble, excused. Ms. Greenblatt? Here. Mr. Carr?
Here.
Mr. Nowicki?
Here.
Mayor Gubitosi?
here. Okay, thank you, Erica. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our meeting, I have some sad news to share with our residents tonight. Alec Majeski a long-term Bradley Beach resident and dedicated environmentalist, passed away unexpectedly early yesterday morning. Known to many as Captain Al, the captain devoted over 15 years to his work with the American Littoral Society, leading environmental efforts across New Jersey. Here in Bradley Beach, his impact is lasting, from helping transform a North End parking lot into the Julie Schreck Maritime Forest, to most recently guiding the restoration activities regarding Sylvan Lake over the past 6 years. Captain Al's passion for our community and our natural environment leaves a legacy that will not be forgotten. Please join me in a moment of silence in his memory. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on now with our agenda, we have scheduled a workshop. The workshop is on sewers, and we have a ton going on in sewers. We're gonna try to condense weeks and weeks and months of work into about a 15-minute total workshop that will include a presentation from the engineer who's been guiding a lot of our work, Suburban, and Matt will introduce Shane in a moment. And also Mr. Doherty, our business administrator, will share results from a survey from a study conducted by Phoenix Advisors. So before I turn it over to you two, Paul, any overview you'd like to share?
Not just that, the sewer program started many, many years ago. And it started on the south side and was being done by all bonding and borrowing. And Councilman Greenblatt and myself spent a lot of time and energy putting together this program and working with the consultant Suburban in order to find funding and to be able to find a way to pay for our sewer replacement, complete the program as fiscally responsible as possible. And we found a lot of, you'll hear of the grant money we found for the design, as well as excellent financing rates for construction, as well as principal forgiveness, which the engineer will explain. So it's been a lot of effort over the last year putting this program together, and now we're going to reap the benefit of it. But just keep in mind that no matter what, at the end of the day, we have to be fiscally responsible, because the residents, this capital program to replace these sewers is a cost and an investment of our community for the future. So nothing is for free, even though we're getting a lot of grant money. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that this does have a longer term impact on our sewer rates, but we are doing the things to make it most financially affordable as possible. So with that, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Sure, Councilman. And Mayor and Council, as you know, the sewer system in Bradley Beach is extremely old. It's outlived its usefulness many, many years ago. It truly is a testament to the folks who installed it over 100 years ago that it's still functioning today. But it is time to continue, as Councilman Nowicki mentioned, the replacement program. We are seeing a reduction in what's called flows, which is the amount of flow that's being processed by the Neptune Sewer Authority. So as the sewer system gets replaced, and Mayor and Council made a decision last year not to simply reline existing pipes, but to actually replace them. And as the pipes get replaced, you can see that flow number decrease. So as Councilman Nowicki mentioned, there is a cost to this. It is an investment, but there is also a financial benefit. The financial benefits starting now, not at a high rate, at a lower rate, but it does start somewhat immediately as we make these improvements. Before she was sworn in, Councilwoman Greenblatt had the opportunity to meet with folks from Suburban Engineering at the League of Municipalities, and she's the one who brought them to our attention. And the fact that the town has and had been eligible for millions of dollars in what's called forgivable or principal forgiveness. Basically means you borrow money and they forgive you for a portion of what you borrow. It ends up becoming a grant. So from that, we retained Suburban Engineering to look at the remaining sections of the sewers for replacement and for finding the financing. in the most, in the most, the least expensive way possible for the ratepayers who are all taxpayers. Unlike other towns that may use American Water or other independent parties, the only ratepayers for the sewer system are the folks that live and own property here in Bradley Beach. At the same time, the council authorized us to go out and find a third party financial advisement company, a group of experts who do this throughout the state of New Jersey, to look at whether or not it would be smart to privatize the existing sewer system. So I'm gonna talk about that after Shane gives his presentation on what suburban engineering is doing now and, you know, what folks in town can expect going forward. So Shane, turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Matt. Is there a good spot for me to stand or?
Okay.
Let's move that around too, Shane.
I'll kind of just stand aside.
Okay.
Yeah, are we able to
Michelle?
get that?
I need to access this.
Yeah, it should be.
Just bring that up and you're good. Also, everything that's being presented today will be put on the website. So, you know, the public will have, be able to fully inspect everything, just in case there's some stuff that we may go over a little quick here, because we have limitations in time. Feel free to look at it on the website, and you could always pepper me with questions, and I don't know the answer, most of the time I don't. I'll just go to Shane and get the correct answer and get it back to the file.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Matt. First like to express my condolences to the borough for the passing of Captain Al. I know we worked together on Sylvan Lake a little bit, but I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg. But my name is Shane Logan with Suburban Consulting. Matt, thank you for the introduction. We've been working closely with Matt, Shauna, and Paul on the borough-wide sanitary sewer infrastructure replacement program. Next slide, please. Cool. So back in 2020, the borough introduced a 6-phase program to replace all the sewers. Really, the impetus behind this, as Matt mentioned, was they were seeing an increase in flows. The sewer system was over 100 years old, and also there were improper lateral connections due to the lack of sewers in the streets running north to south. So as you can see on this map here, 2 of those phases have already been completed, as I'm sure you've seen. That's those grayed out areas, really more on the south side of town. And then there are 4 remaining phases. Those phases have been kind of just split up on more bite-sized portions that the borough could handle. And then we also have the state highway, which is Main Street, and then the county roads, Brinley, Fletcher Lake, or Lake Terrace, and then Ocean. So split up into 4 different portions that would be tackled at a later date. That's kind of where Suburban got involved with the borough. Next slide. So where we're at right now. So right now, Suburban's been working with CME for their first few design contracts to replace the sewers. So they're looking at 5th Avenue, Park Place Avenue, and Ocean Park Avenue. These were projects that were already in the works when Suburban got involved. One of the big draws to these areas was that DOT resurfacing grants were obtained for those portions. So really you could go in, replace the sewers, and then have the paving funded by the DOT. So as Matt mentioned, kind of the best bang for your buck scenario. And with that, where Suburban has gotten involved is we applied for a planning and design grant for $2 million. That's going to cover all of the planning efforts for these contracts, as well as everything moving forward. And then this work will also be covered by principal forgiveness, like Matt mentioned, up to $2 million per year. So right now, for these 3 contracts, we're looking at a total cost of $2.4 million, $2 million back from the DEP, $800,000 back from the DOT. So as you can see, that's over the $2.4 million in cost. So we can even go further with the project than we expected. And basically, the borough is paying nothing out of pocket. So now moving forward to next year, this is kind of what the borough is looking to do in state fiscal year 2027, which actually begins July 1st of this year. So on the right here, you have a map of the survey efforts that Suburban has performed to date. In case you've seen our guys out there, this is what they're doing, collecting all the information so that we can design these contracts going forward. So for next year, we're looking at completing Main Street. Main Street is one of the most complex roadways in the borough. We have DOT work coming up, which is going to be fixing ADA ramps and signals at intersections. Then we also have CME, who is designing a streetscape program. So before all of that work happens, we want to get the sewers replaced. That way you can come through, pave, you're not going to be disrupting anything. And then we can get all the surface looking great for all the residents. So again, right now, Suburban, 30% of the way done with designing the Main Street work. We're anticipating that the construction costs are going to be about 2.5 million. And again, this would be eligible to get $2 million in principal forgiveness back to reduce the burden to the ratepayers.
Excuse me, Shane.
Yep.
And the timing of that Main Street work, because of the other contracts, correct me if I'm wrong, we're targeting September, right after the high season.
Correct.
So this fall, we would be doing the sewers on Main Street.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So right now, that previous slide that we were looking at, the CME design contracts, those are also going to be going out in September. The reason behind this, obviously, we don't want to be working in summer. But then with that, with the transition to 2027 kind of happening in the middle of the calendar year, we're also going to be looking to push forward Main Street in September. So now kind of big picture, and this is what's kind of going to segue us into what Matt is presenting on, is the borough's looking to replace all of the sewers. How are we going to accomplish that? We're going to break it out into smaller portions, and we're going to target a different area each year. This map shows up to 8 contracts. That's really just targeting that $2 million number. But the kind of organization of these contracts, what's going to come after the other, that's all a little bit up in the air right now, as we work with CME to target more of the grants for the paving. What that's going to do is stretch your dollar even further, because if the paving is covered, we can use this money more so to focus on what's underground, and it gets us as far as we can. And then last slide, Matt. So this is kind of just outlining that approach a little more. With the funding sources we have in place, there are some deadlines. Design must be completed by September 2029. Really shouldn't be a problem. We're starting the design now. You've seen the surveyor crews out there. That is all moving. Construction must be completed by April 2031. This date comes into play because the first construction contract is going to be starting this year. From that point, we have 5 years to complete the construction of all of the contracts, so that we can get the principal forgiveness on them. That means 5 years is 5 times $2 million per year. We have the potential to get $10 million back for the construction of these projects. So we have the cost breakdown there at the bottom. 21 million overall plus 2 million in planning and design. We have the planning and design covered, $10 million over the course of 5 years. Ultimately, what it comes out to is to complete $23 million worth of work. It's only going to cost the borough $11 million. So pretty significant cost savings. And I think, Matt, that probably brings us to your.
Before you go on to that, one other comment. That's the work underground, but the surface pavement is money that costs on top of that, and that's why we need DOT grants as well.
Correct.
But if we do save money on the sewers, we can apply that money to surface as well.
Yes.
Okay, so, right, it covers both, if depending on our availability of grants.
I just want to also point out that the principal forgiveness per year is not really guaranteed after the first 2 years. We're grandfathered into this.
Correct. So the $2 million in planning and design is locked in. Then they have also locked in another 2 million in principal forgiveness that we would be targeting this year with those first 3 contracts that were out. And then we could see on the screen there, The DEP's released that there's gonna be $30 million available for next year, at 2 million per year. So we're confident that the planning and design and the first 2 years are in there. The rest, we're gonna have to wait and see what the DEP releases as funding availability.
So since we're grandfathered in, would we be eligible if there is funding available to continue for the successive years of the principal forgiveness?
Correct, we'll be eligible for 5 years.
So the 11 million is best case then.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
All right. Great. Anything else?
No, so I have a quick summary, just to highlight something. So completion of Fifth Avenue is going to happen. We're gonna advertise an award, but we're not gonna build that until September. Ocean Park, which also is the area that we're having all types of maintenance issues on, that DPW's been working on and resolving. That will also go to construction in September, and a piece of Park Place, because there are 2 blocks of Park Place were already done. We're gonna do another block.
Correct.
And at the same time, we're gonna do Main Street next fall in order to get done and out of the way for DOT to come in and redo the signalized intersections.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
We're good?
Yeah, I think so. Shane, thank you. We'll come back to you though in a minute after Matt
Sounds
Doherty finishes his part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And I gotta tell you, having an engineer on the council is both remarkably productive and saves us thousands and thousands of dollars. So you're all very lucky to have an engineer on your council. Before I start, I do want to thank 2 residents, Jim and Rick, who started this process years ago. Anytime I talk to anyone about this, they're like, well, what do Rick and Jim think? I'm like, well, make sure they're included. So thank you both very much for getting us to where we are now. You were actually the ones who brought up Phoenix Advisors, when we started talking about this, because you already done the research on it. So as I mentioned before, the mayor and council went out to bid for a financial advisor. Phoenix Advisors was chosen. They processed all the financial documents to see, is it worth keeping the system public or should we privatize it? And as you know, the mayor is an accountant, so he makes decisions driven by numbers. So they knew that, and that's what the numbers they put together. So if Michelle could put up our first slide.
Drum roll.
We had to change this once.
Right, I have to change.
No. It's still Shane.
There.
There we go.
Matt, can you make that
Larger?
larger?
So here's our first slide. Again, this report was finalized the end of March, and we just wanted to present it to the public as soon as possible. This is a PowerPoint presentation about it. So we'll have this on the website, but along with the full report that supports all the information you have tonight. Next slide, please. So as Shane said, there's about $24.8 million in capital improvements over the next 5 years. They also looked at what's going to happen with rates and the difference between if you privatize what would happen to rates versus kept it public and within the control of the mayor and council. As you know, with your electric bill or your gas bill, utilities are regulated in New Jersey by the Board of Public Utilities. So ultimately, even rates themselves do have some type of government regulation process. But when you privatize it, it is outside of the scope of the mayor and council, but inside the scope of the state government. Based on the current projections, estimated the borough will need to implement a 3-year rate increase of 18 to 19% annually between 2029 and 2031, followed by 2 and 3% increases. Next slide, please. If the borough was to sell the system, some of the bigger names, New Jersey American Water, which currently has the water system for the borough of Bradley Beach, but also other companies like Viola are out there. And there are other boroughs currently in the area looking at selling their water and sewer system. The one closest to us right now is Lake Como. So they are going through this process as well. But if the borough was to sell a system, they would estimate the sales price between 5.2 million and 7.8 million. So between 5.2 and 7.8. 1.9 million of the utility fund would also become available to the borough. The utility is what's called self-liquidating, so it pays for itself. So the taxpayers do not pay any portion of the sewer utility. Also, about $275,000 of municipal costs, salaries, wages, benefits, things like that, would also would be transferred from the sewer utility onto the general fund, which would be the taxpayers. Next slide. Here's the projected monthly sewer costs. If you went with a privately owned, that's the top cost, where it go from somewhere around $70 to $121. Whereas if you look at right now, the publicly owned, what you have today, is $40. This is on a monthly basis. So when you get your quarterly sewer bill, I think it's $119.50 to be exact. And then the $60 to $80 is really where the market sewer rates should be. So you are currently paying less than what you should pay. If you remember, a few years ago, previous administrations decided to lower sewer rates. They probably should have left them where they were so that we'd be at the market rate. So over time, the ratepayers will have to catch up to what the true cost of the sewer system is. Next slide, please. The outstanding debt, current outstanding debt is 7.6 million. General capital debt is 5.2. So the total payoff to sewer utility debt would be 7.5 plus general capital at 4.8, which would be 12.3 million. So just doing simple math, you gotta pay off 12.3 million, but you can only sell it for 7.8. That's a deficit that is incurable. So ultimately, it's gonna be up to the mayor and council as to whether or not we move forward with potentially selling the sewer system. More than likely, that would go to a referendum, so the voters would ultimately decide. But when you look at the math, it simply does not work. And ultimately, the Department of Environmental Protection in the state of New Jersey could prevent any sale where the amount of debt exceeds the amount of revenue we collected. Which again, if you're ever worked in the private sector, you have too much expense and not enough revenue, you just can't move forward. Next slide, please. This is just a little bit on the Board of Public Utilities and Division of Rate Counsel. Again, they are there to protect the ratepayers from exorbitant increases by utility companies when you privatize, if that was a direction that the mayor and council ultimately decided to go into. I think that's our last one. Any other slides? Oop, that's it. Any questions, sir?
Yeah, Matt, or maybe just a few comments. Oh, actually, Michelle, I'm sorry, could you go back to the line slide if you can with the three
Graph.
the line graph? I'll start talking while Michelle hopefully hears me and looks for that. Maybe as a quick recap of all the stuff you just heard. Back whenever it was 2000, Shane, you mentioned 2018 or 2020. When the borough first undertook a mapping of the sewer work that needed to be done. At that time, I think there were 5 or 6 phases, 6, right?
Yep.
And it was 2.5 million per phase. That was the estimated cost. We completed phase 1 at 2.5 million. Phase 2, we ran out of money. We couldn't complete it. We spent close to $5 million for phase 2. To give you a sense for how rapidly costs have increased in this world. So just back in 2020, when we thought the spend was gonna be 12.5 million to totally redo all of our sewers, you now see numbers just to finish what we've started being close to 23 million. So the prices have been soaring in terms of construction costs and all these, pricey engineers. So just a joke, Shane. But no, there's no denying the fact that prices are soaring. So when we talk about selling the sewers, Matt, to your point, it's not just about recovering sunk costs already, but it's also about whether or not we want to avoid future costs. And so the question, can Michelle get that line thing up, the line chart? Matt, could you ask her?
Michelle, can you go back 2 slides? Please?
The line chart. Almost. There.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Where is she?
She's
That's what you're waiting on the wall.
I didn't think your presentation was that long.
That's
There we
it,
go.
perfect,
Okay, there we
thank
go. So, well, Michelle, yeah, right there. That's good. Thank you. So the first thing to point out is if we were to forget the dollars that we make or not make in selling it. If we were to turn over the cost of the sewers to an independent utility, that top line, the experts tell us approximates the cost we as residents would pay. And you can see, I can barely see the numbers, but it practically doubles. It's 40 going to what, Matt? I can't.
70.
40 to 70.
Yeah.
The line in the middle, the thing that I just want to make sure I pointed out, the bottom line is where we are now, but the bottom line is below where we should be. And what you can see is the little line that's connecting up to the middle line. The middle line, the reason it's so much lower than the ratepayer line is because our council persons flanking me, Ms. Greenblatt and Mr. Nowicki, working closely with Shane and Suburban, they have secured all of this grant funding and/or principal forgiveness, so that we've actually brought that total cost from that 23 million down to more like hopefully 11 million. I say hopefully because we still have to secure a few more of those grants. But should we do that, it's that middle line trajectory that we plan to try to get the borough to. So effectively, we're saying we would not outsource it given today's state. Now, a couple of years ago, that might have been a more viable option because we didn't have all this grant funding secured. So the one piece of this that you will hear more about as this year progresses is we're going to need to move our residents from that lower line, the 40 line, to what's in the middle. I can't read it again.
It goes from 60 up to 80.
Okay, so somewhere along that 60 to 80 trajectory, we want to start to bring our sewer rates up because we want to establish the appropriate level of funding for our sewers by the time we hit 2030, when all of the infrastructure is completed. Keep in mind, these are 100-year-old sewers. The borough only started upgrading them, six years ago. We want to hopefully finish by 2030. And that would include securing any more grant funding we can get. There will be sewer increases in cost, but understand we're right now we're priced way below where we need to be.
Right, and even if we weren't doing more capital improvements to complete the system, the line of where it is would be problematic to fund the debt service that's already in place over time. So that debt is growing, and that rate that is here today, it was not sustainable to begin with. We would have to address that anyway. Now that we're going to complete the program, we're definitely going to have to pay that debt service. And what we're trying to do is minimize how much debt do we take on and do it as economically as possible.
And can one of the engineers, maybe Shane or Mr. Nowicki, can you guys also reference for the residents what this means in terms of the laterals? Because where we have not upgraded our sewers yet, which is, maybe not 2/3 of the town,
But half of the time right now.
is it about half? The remainder of the town, and which is middle and northern end, as well as Main Street, right now, residents are responsible for the laterals going into the street, financially responsible. Shane, can you just speak to, by totally replacing these existing laterals, what that means for our residents?
Yeah, so, from every home to every main in the road, there's a lateral, which is a smaller pipe just connecting the house to the sewer. One of the most problematic areas, that we're seeing with these older sewers is where that lateral connects to the main. So ultimately by replacing the main, and replacing the lateral that connects to it, there's gonna be a higher level of service, really for all the residents. You're gonna see less backups, less blockages. Really, the sewer is gonna be functioning as it should be. And as Matt mentioned, there's also gonna be less inflows of groundwater kind of seeping through that lateral connection, getting into the system and increasing the amount of money that's paid to Neptune Sewerage Authority. And then one of the other things as well with the laterals is right now, as I mentioned, within a lot of the north and south streets, there are no sewer. And in those instances, we see laterals that are running from one person's house through someone else's yard, and then into the system. So when there's an issue, everyone's yard is getting ripped up, and that's obviously not something that we want to have going on. So there's a couple different facets of this that are ultimately making it favorable to replace the main and replace the laterals as well.
Right, and so then in the future, like half the town right now that we've already completed, the responsibility of the homeowner is from their home down to that grass strip where there will be a clean out. And then, and which is still in the right of way. So, but then from that point to into the street is actually the borough's responsibility. So we're basically providing a location on the grass strip that would be the point of juncture between responsibilities of us and the homeowner.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you.
And I just want to jump back to the financial component, which is part of this program, also that 11 million that we were hoping for. 75% of that loan is at 0% interest.
Correct.
And that's pretty significant, and with the 25% at what the prevailing rate.
Yeah, Bob, right.
Yeah, so that's something you can't get
Correct.
otherwise.
Yeah, so that's the cheapest financing that you can find out there, and that's all subsidized by the state. That is 75% of the construction cost, 0% interest, which is tremendous.
And just to layer on kind of what Councilman Murphy mentioned before, as the sewers get replaced, so too are the roads gonna get repaid. Again, that's through Department of Transportation, but grant money from them, you'll see that, the end of this month is we're gonna, finally repay Fifth Avenue, which just had its sewer line, replaced. We have to wait for asphalt plants to open up and things like that, but that should start the, last week of April and be done by the end of April as well. And one other thing to note, so one of the things you may ask yourself is, all right, well, if all this work was done, doesn't it make it more valuable than the $7.8 million? That's a great question. It makes sense, right? If you make improvements to your house, you should be able to sell your house for more than the improvements you put into it. In this case, the Board of Public Utilities gives a guaranteed rate of 7% for whatever investment in capital, in infrastructure that a utility makes. So if they invest $100, they're guaranteed $107. Guaranteed $107. If they take over what's existing, they do not get any return on that. So to the mayor's point, if this conversation was happening 10 years ago, there's a very good chance it would have made a lot more financial sense to privatize the sewers. If this conversation happens 30 years from now, it may make sense to privatize the sewers financially, right? The mayor and council, along with the residents, hopefully make that decision. But what we just looked at was the financial aspect. What do the dollars and cents say? And again, right now, your debt exceeds the value of the system, even though intuitively you would think, well, those improvements, the system should be worth more than that. It simply isn't because of the way the Board of Public Utility provides that extra 7% guaranteed rate of return on the investments that the utility companies make.
Right, and some sewer systems are more valuable than others because they do treatment, and that's where the money is. And all of our waste goes to Neptune Township's treatment facility. We don't have a treatment facility. We just have a collection facility. And so it's not as good of a business for sewer collection to make money. So, so there's a lot of that goes into this besides just, there's a lot of pieces of that, business model.
Plus, we put ourselves in a strong position where we now have a much improved asset that we can hold on to and value and not sell when we finally got it into a position of strength.
Right, and you put future generations in a much better position, owning property here in Bradley Beach as well.
And just to point out, looking backwards, our debt would have been lower had we entered this program earlier. It was available, to participate in this program and get some more principal forgiveness, but it just wasn't entered into until this point. So that's unfortunate.
So with all that said, I'm going to open it up to the public. I want to though reiterate what you said, Matt, about Mr. Shishius and Mr. Bartolome leading this charge for a number of years. Thank you, gentlemen, for all the work you did just to get Bradley Beach focused on our sewers and the 100-year-old infrastructure and the need to upgrade and or sell. And thanks to all of your perseverance and hard work and pestering at times. I think you've helped us get to a good conclusion. I also want to thank Ms. Paula Gavin sitting right behind you, who I think was responsible for getting you guys onto that task force in the first place. So thank you, Paula, as well.
They deserve it.
Oh, of course. So now with that said, yes.
Just one more quick comment, I think periodically it'd be great as we do each piece of this, that we continue to update the public and with the communications of what's happened next and make sure that we're keeping everybody aware, one, and number two, this council at some point has to address the rate structure. And so that's something that we'll come back to in the near future to bring back to the public and have that workshop.
Well, yeah, we'll be addressing what that line going up to the middle line looks like, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that said, let's open it up to the public. Do you have any comments or questions for the council or for our visiting engineer, Shane? Yes, sir, Mr. West.
Hi, Bob West, 518 North Air. Just quick question, I think you answered it. Who sets the value of what the sewer system is for?
Well, ultimately, it's what the market will pay.
Right.
What we asked Phoenix Advisors to do was to use the information that we had, and again, we'll put the report up so you can see where all these findings came from and what information they used. And then they go out to the market and they say, all right, well, what would this be worth out in the market? And that's where they came up with that range of 5 point something to 7 point something.
So who's the company or entity?
Phoenix Advisors.
Okay,
They're just a third party, these guys are experts at this stuff, but ultimately, it would be the market. You would, the mayor and council, if they wish, would say, hey, listen, we're gonna put it out there to bid. Who wants to buy our sewer system?
okay, all right.
Phoenix Advisors is like the broker on your home in a way. They do the consulting in that space. And they give us an estimate of, in your case, what your home is worth. But the only real way to know what your home is worth is when you offer it for sale.
Okay, just curious. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay, anyone on Zoom? Can we see everyone on Zoom, Matt, or do I need to close that PowerPoint?
That's a good question.
We need to close the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we need to, it's just have.
Michelle, would you mind closing the
Sure.
PowerPoint?
Michelle? I don't know if she's. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Any questions from the Zoom audience? I see none. Okay, so with that said, Shane, thank you again. Not only thank you for being here with us tonight, but thank you for what you and your firm have done to position us so favorably over the past couple of years.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 6 on the agenda, we have a couple of proclamations. John, may I ask you to read one of those or
Be happy to.
professional assistants?
Okay, this is a proclamation for Administrative Professionals Day. Whereas administrative professionals, including administrative assistants, office assistants, receptionists, billing clerks, finance specialists, deputy clerks, and other administrative support staff make up one of the largest segments of the labor force in America. And whereas the administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operations of businesses, government agencies, educational institutions, and other organizations. And whereas the work of the administrative professionals today requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital office management responsibilities. And whereas Administrative Professionals Day is observed annually in workplaces around the world to recognize the important contributions of administrative staff. And whereas we recognize the importance and contributions of highly skilled administrative professionals to the success of office operations. Now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach do hereby recognize April 22nd, 2026 as Administrative Professionals Day, and do hereby recognize and appreciate these administrative professionals and their valuable contributions in the workplace and support their continued professional growth on this day, April 7th, 2026.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilman Nowicki, would you mind reading the proclamation for National Volunteers Week?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. National Volunteer Week 2026, whereas National Volunteer Week, enacted in 1974 by President Richard Nixon, celebrates the spirit of volunteerism, urging all Americans to seek opportunities to provide service to their community. And whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach is fortunate to have dedicated volunteers who generously give their time, energy, and talents to help make our community a better place. And whereas the work of these volunteers contribute to the quality of life in the borough in countless ways. And whereas these volunteers serve on a variety of boards, commissions, committees, and extends to include many nonprofit organizations. And whereas volunteers also share their time to help with various borough-sponsored events. And whereas volunteering changes the lives of volunteers in a positive way, increasing self-confidence, self-esteem, and physical well-being, offering the chance to make new connections and providing opportunities to learn new skills and abilities. And whereas the Borough of Bradley recognizes that volunteering improves the quality of life and increases community participation and ownership. Volunteers are vital to our future for desirable, caring, and productive community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach does hereby recognize the week, April 19th to the 25th, as National Volunteer Week, and expresses gratitude to all local volunteers for their tireless dedication and service to our community. Dated this 7th day of April 2026.
Thank you, sir. We will now move to item 7 on the agenda, which is approval of minutes, and I will make a motion to approve our March 17, 2026 council business meeting minutes.
Second. Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt? Yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. I will also make a motion to approve our March 17, 2026 executive session minutes.
Second. Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt? Yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes.
That scared me there for a second.
Okay, moving to item 8 on our agenda, public comments and questions pertaining specifically to items on our agenda tonight. If you have comments or questions about items not on the agenda, please hold those till the end of the meeting. Are there comments or questions for tonight? Yes, sir. Rick.
Rick Bartolome, 116 Newark. Just want to point out on individual resolution 2026-107, where it reads that the lifeguards are going to be there until 3:30 in the afternoon on the summer months, on the weekdays. And Mr. Doherty, would you want to comment on what you found out?
The lifeguard's gonna be on duty 9 AM to 5 PM Monday to Friday, and 9 AM to 6 PM on Saturdays and Sundays during the summer months.
So just wanted to point that out for,
So the 3:30 is a typo, basically.
right.
That's the same resolution we passed last year.
Well, let's Correct, so it aligns
No
with.
problem. Okay,
what
and,
that's for.
9 to 6 Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Thank
all,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Danny Greenberg. My wife and I live at 221 Newark Avenue. Each of you has received by email the comments I'm about to share, but I felt it important enough to be entered into the public record. And so I will read it again here. I'm writing to express my strong protest of proposed ordinance 2026-19, which, among other things, changes the depth at which basements can be built. And I urge you to vote no on this ordinance as currently drafted. My wife and I have been summer residents here in Bradley for a few years, and in that short time since, we quickly realized what a special place this town is. And over the past year, we rewrote our life plan for the future and decided to move here full time. With that in mind, we purchased one of the church lots directly from the borough at an auction conducted by the borough under the terms set by the borough and subject to the minimum prices listed by the borough. 2 weeks ago, there was a story in the news about Americans of Italian descent who had moved to Italy permanently based on a program that granted them citizenship to people with Italian ancestors, even from many generations earlier. The program set out specific criteria, steps to follow, which if adhered to, makes the descendants Italian citizens within a couple of years. And based on the program, thousands of people sold everything they had and moved to Italy. But out of the blue, the government last week changed the law, limited the program, making most of them ineligible for citizenship. These are people who upended their lives to move to a country that openly and warmly welcomed them, only to have the government change the rules in the middle of the game. I read the story and couldn't help thinking how alike the situation we are encountering is with the folks who are stranded in Italy. Because if you pass this ordinance as written, you are also changing the rules in the middle of the game, and that is just not fair. This ordinance is a blunt instrument. By effectively banning all new basements in town, the borough risks devaluing not only our lot with the stroke of a pen, but also scores of other properties in town. Have you given thought to what that will do to the tax base of Bradley Beach? Have you considered less restrictive measures that would be effective in helping individual homeowners avoid flooded basements, like high PSI poured concrete foundations, advanced waterproofing membranes, and redundant drainage systems? Have you thought about what changes you might make to existing codes that might alleviate the effects of this ordinance should it go through? We have a conforming 50 by 100 lot, but we cannot build a garage because the 25-foot front yard setback requirement doesn't allow enough room in the backyard. So if no basements are permitted, what about allowing larger sheds to accommodate the stuff that every family accumulates? Or reducing the front yard setback so a garage could be accommodated? How about increasing the allowable height? The goal of being a resilient community is an admirable one, and the motivation for this ordinance no doubt originated with the new NJDP real regulations. But on the one hand, the council in this very room has been urging the state for more time to draft ordinances that support the implementation of the new regulations, while on the other hand, effectively banning basements altogether immediately. You can't have it both ways. Between the cases already filed and the likelihood of legislature taking action before July 20th, the odds are very high that the rules will not go into effect as currently drafted. So the bottom line is, why rush into this? This ordinance creates an unfair grandfathered class of homeowners here in Bradley Beach. If my neighbors can enjoy the utility of a basement, but I'm barred from building one on my own lot, it creates an immediate and arbitrary hit to my property value and the utility of my home. What you're doing is moving the goalposts after we've committed ourselves to Bradley Beach. That sure smells like a regulatory taking to me. I urge you to vote no on this version of the proposed ordinance. You don't need to rush into this. It would be easier for you to draft legislation that moves towards greater resiliency of the town without negatively impacting the property values of so many homes in Bradley Beach. This ordinance is not it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg, we've got a lot to share with you and the audience, but we're going to do that at the adoption discussion. We'll have public comment then again,
Thank you.
but we also have some additional information to share that may alleviate some of
I
your
appreciate
concerns.
it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Nothing here. Oh, yes, sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Go in there.
Hi, how are you? So I see a lot of familiar faces here in the room.
Name,
My
name and
clients,
name. I just need your name and address.
Nick Gockberg,
Mhm.
I live in Neptune,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
305 Shadow Lawn Drive.
How do you spell your last name?
GOK
Huh?
BERK.
Thank you.
It's a doozy, I know. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Nick with Cutting Edge. We're a local landscaping company maintaining close to 200 properties here at Bradley Beach and growing rapidly. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And this is about the gas powered mowers versus the electric powered mowers, by the way. I'd like to start with a quick question. By a show of hands, how many of you use a computer in your day-to-day work? Keep it in your head. I'm sure it's all of you. So imagine being told from May through September, you're no longer allowed to use that computer, and instead you have to go back to pencil. Would your business survive? Yes. Would your productivity take a hit? Absolutely. That's what this feels like for us. Gas-powered blowers are not a luxury, they're a core tool. Taking them away doesn't shut us down, but it slows everything down. Jobs take longer, routes take longer, and maintaining the same level of service becomes harder. It's like taking a roofer's nail gun and giving him a hammer. We're telling a carpenter to cut everything by hand. The job still gets done, but it takes longer, costs more, and creates unnecessary difficulty. Now, multiply that across an entire day and an entire season. Now, one of the most important issues here is timing. Implementing this year would be devastating to all the landscapers in Bradley Beach. And the May through September window doesn't work. It's actually our busiest stretch of the year. May, June, and July are peak cutting season. We trim hedges as well. Grass is growing the fastest, properties need the most attention, and most importantly, we do the highest volume of blowing when homeowners are prepping for parties, rentals, and summer events. So you'd be forcing us to switch to less efficient equipment at the exact time we rely on it the most. When time increases, costs increase. Homeowners should expect higher prices just to maintain the same level of service, and that's not on us. All the local landscapers, we know each other, we talk, we understand the market very well. Pricing is competitive across the board and margins are already tight with the landscapers. And it doesn't stop there. Fall cleanups in Bradley Beach starts early September because some of the trees are dropping their leaves early. So in reality, we're placing restrictions on the entire season. Respectfully, letting us use the gas blowers in spring and fall as a compromise doesn't reflect how desperately we need this equipment. Now, from a business standpoint, this creates real consequences. There are only a handful of companies servicing Bradley Beach at scale, and we maintain by far the most, a responsibility I take pride in. The next tier, a few older solo guys who are very unlikely to invest heavily into new equipment at the stage. They'll just retire, they'll step away. And the smaller companies with a few customers in Bradley won't fill the gap either. The cost of electric equipment, batteries, and added labor time cuts too deeply into margins, so they'll avoid towns with these restrictions. You don't get a smooth transition, you get a shortage. Fewer landscapers, less competition, higher prices, and the burden falls on the residents. Now, here's the real world logistics. From a practical day-to-day standpoint, I want to make sure everyone understands what switching to electric blowers looks like. On an average day, we're blowing about 3 to 4 hours with 3 guys. That's roughly 9 to 12 hours of blower use. We'll just say 10 hours to keep things simple. An electric blower battery lasts 25 to 30 minutes. And as you use it, the power drops off. It does not maintain its full output like a gas blower does. With gas, I get about an hour and a half per tank, and the power stays consistent the entire time. So you do the math. To get through a full day, I need to buy about 20 batteries just to keep things moving. Batteries range anywhere from $250 to $600 each, at an average of $425 per battery. That's $8,500 just to run blowers for one crew. That doesn't even include the cost of the blowers we'd have to buy and the setting up of the charging stations in my truck or workshop. I'm really trying to put you in my shoes here as a business owner. Do we buy an additional 20 batteries so we can rotate them? Charging one set in the shop while another is being used during the daytime, then swapping them out when we get home every night. That would cost about $17,000 to make sure my operations run reliably. You might think that's extreme, but we do the same thing with our mowers and equipment. We always keep backups for every machine because if one breaks down, which it always does, you need to have a backup. And the battery lifespan is another issue. These batteries don't last forever. With heavily daily use, a battery that lasts 25 to 30 minutes now might last 15 to 20 minutes. And I don't, so that means we're not just buying them once, we're replacing dozens every single year just to keep operations running at full strength. I don't even spend anywhere near that on gas per year, not even, it's a fraction of 8,000 or 17,000, it's not even close. So if you're asking us to go fully electric across all equipment, the cost of logistics, it would just multiply. And I understand the concern here is noise, so let's talk about the noise. Gas powered backpacks typically fall in the 80 to 100 decibel range, which is in line with many common machines. Chainsaws, jackhammers, construction equipment, nail guns, circular saws, they're all about the same decibels. It's all noise, it's all the same. And beyond equipment, traffic, construction, kids playing, dogs barking, it's all a part of everyday life. So the question here is, where do we draw the line? If the goal is to reduce overall noise, it's hard to justify starting here without addressing those noises first. Very important.
Mr. Gluckberg, you're gonna have to,
Yep, that's it.
those. Do you have that typed by any chance here?
Yes, I do. I was pretty much finished.
Okay, no, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but if we could get a copy of that of
Sure.
yours,
You can have this one.
that'd be helpful.
I really appreciate
Can
it,
you
guys.
send that to me in an email? Thank you.
You got it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Other comments or questions in the audience? No,
About this issue,
about any issue on the agenda?
all right, I'll comment on that, that's.
Okay, sure.
How you doing, Grant Hirsch, 301 Main Street, soon to be 314 Third Avenue. I have a friend that lives in Montclair, so when I saw this issue on the agenda, they banned it in their town. And I just said, how's it going there? He said that while it's softer, it's still noise. And he said, is it worth causing such hardship to small businesses for just a little less noise? And he didn't think it was. He didn't think it was that distinct a change. He also said that they originally started there charging them at like a remote station, and then they would drive to them and switch them out. He said that didn't seem to be efficient for the landscapers, so now they just leave trucks idling everywhere, constantly charging all over the place. So if the primary reason you want to pass this this restriction for is noise reduction, he seemed, a little less noisy with the blowers, but now you have idling trucks everywhere. And like Nick alluded to, I just feel bad that it seems like we're singling out one group of small businesses while there's tons that make noise doing other things. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Caitlin Salduti, 705 Third. Mayor and council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's nice to see you. I'm here in support of the leaf blower restriction ordinance because these machines have real measurable impacts on public health and quality of life. Gas-powered leaf blowers emit high levels of fine particulate matter and toxic pollutants like benzene and nitrogen oxides, substances linked to respiratory illness, cardiovascular disease, and increased cancer risk. For workers who use them daily, like our public works employees and residents who are repeatedly exposed, this isn't a minor nuisance, it's a health hazard. The noise is also significant, often exceeding safe decibel levels, disrupting sleep, learning, and the simple ability to enjoy time outdoors. Unlike many other sources of noise, leaf blowers produce persistent, high-frequency sound that travels far beyond the immediate area. Beyond human health, leaf blowers are damaging to the local environment we value so much here in Bradley Beach. They kick up dust, mold, pesticides, and allergens, degrading air quality while also disturbing soil health and beneficial insects. What's more, they often move debris from private properties into public spaces and storm drains, contributing to pollution in our waterways. Many communities have already taken steps to restrict or transition away from gas-powered leaf blowers, recognizing that quieter, cleaner alternatives exist. This ordinance is a practical, reasonable step toward protecting residents, supporting workers with safer tools, and preserving the coastal environment that defines our town. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Other comments or questions in the room? Any comments or questions on Zoom? Okay, oh, yes, sir, in the middle, I can't read the name.
Hello, my name is Anthony Velardo. I live at 317 3rd Avenue, and I am a junior engineering student at Lafayette College. And regarding the blower restriction, I have a few notes on it. So, to pick up where Nick said, the lithium batteries would lose 20 to 30% of their capacity by the end of the 2.5 month restriction. And so every year you would have to replace them, which economically would pass on those charges to the consumers and the business alike. And for the towns that have done this, there's only 7 out of over 560 towns in New Jersey that have banned or restricted gas leaf blowers. And none of those towns are near the coast like how we are. So you have to deal with sand, leaves, sticks, debris from storms, and the powerful leaf blowers that are gas are the only ones that can handle that in a timely manner. And for the dust and other environmental hazards that are kicked up, well, the same would happen for an electric leaf blower, if not more, because they are 75% of the power output that a gas leaf blower is. So you spend more time blowing, putting more of those particles in the air over time. Now, if you want to say that noise is a potential issue, well, in Greenwich, Connecticut, they did this same enforcement during the same time frame of the summer months, and complaints for noise went up by over 500%, and police had to go there to enforce the ban. Well, as of January 2020, or 22nd, 2026, Bradley Beach only had 18 full-time police officers. Now, if we had a 500% peak in these summer months, when you have tourists coming down, families coming to their summer houses, that's going to put a stress on our police department. Now, would they then have to get diverted from emergency calls where there's more accidents, more drownings, and other health emergencies? So that could be a critical lack of first aid. Now, would the solution be to hire more police officers and then increase the town payers' taxes, and even to supply the blowers to the municipal workers? Would you then take the money from the people of the town and raise their taxes as well? That's all. Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you as well. Other comments or questions on Zoom? Okay, seeing no other comments or, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, Ben Sorensen, 705 3rd Avenue. Yeah, I'm all in favor of banning gas powered leaf blowers. Because they're loud and obnoxious. Just way behind the times. Of course, we should ban, starting with the public works. They're as bad as anybody, worst offenders. Start by buying them all electric ones. I don't think we have to take consideration of small business. I'd say put public safety, public health first. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comments and move to number 9 on our agenda, which in fact are our ordinances. So first on the agenda is ordinance 2026-21, and ordinance amending chapter 310 noise of the borough's revised general ordinances to limit the use of leaf blowers. So that all the public comments were very timely. Thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Clark.
Sure, thank you. So I have to first say that there's one part of the last statement that was made about not caring about our small businesses, and that's certainly not the case up here. This ordinance is a seasonal restriction on gas-powered leaf blowers, Memorial Day weekend through September 30th, while continuing to permit the use during the fall, winter, and spring cleanup seasons. The goal is not to eliminate landscaping activity, but to reduce unnecessary noise during the peak summer months when Bradley Beach is the most densely populated and outdoors oriented. Bradley Beach is unique I've heard us being compared to other places like Montclair and other towns in different states. However, we have high seasonal population, incredibly small lot sizes, and a very dense residential layout. During the summer, residents and visitors are outdoors much more frequently. Windows are open, increasing noise intrusion, and businesses rely on a pleasant, walkable beach town atmosphere. Gas-powered leaf blowers are disproportionately loud compared to other equipment and are often used for routine maintenance where quieter alternatives would exist. And this ordinance is designed to strike a practical balance between maintaining properties and preserving the quality of life during those peak months. So this ordinance restricts gas-powered leaf blowers during the summer months. But however, it does continue to allow them during the fall, winter, and spring cleanup periods. I think this approach is consistent with other municipalities, which have held up under legal scrutiny because there's been some questions as to whether or not that would be the case. We've heard from landscapers, as I've spoken to them outside of here, heard from them here, and I understand. And they've said that that this will hurt our business, and I think some of the things that we incorporated into this ordinance to try and balance between residents and businesses was the fact that it's not a full-time ban. Right now, the state of New Jersey is considering a complete ban within the next 4 years. So it's not something that's unheard of. And I think that the cleanup seasons, the equipment intensive periods, it remains unaffected. And also importantly, I heard about trimming that continues to go on. This does not put any restrictions on gas-powered trimmers or edgers. We've heard that electric equipment isn't powerful enough. I think we've all seen the increase in battery life in cars, in power equipment. Houses are being built with batteries. I see it all the time. So it's an ever improving economy. This ordinance targets routine summer maintenance, not peak leaf removal. This is also been stated that it's unfair to commercial operators, but it's important to note that this applies to everybody. This is our DPW, these are our residents, and these are anybody who operates within the town. So everybody is treated fairly. And we've heard about it being hard to enforce, but our noise ordinance is fairly well tested. There's clear definitions, there's no ambiguity, and it aligns with existing noise ordinances. So if somebody's having a loud party, there are remedies. If somebody is doing construction too late at night, there are remedies. And so we just leverage off of that existing. So overall, the benefits to the community are quieter summer environments for residents and for visitors, improved air quality and reduced emissions. It supports Bradley Beach's identity as a walkable, family-friendly shore town, and it aligns with actions taken by other New Jersey municipalities. The ordinance represents an intentionally moderate, measured, and practical step towards improving the quality of life in Bradley Beach during its busiest season. It supports the residents and the visitors while still allowing landscapers to operate effectively year-round. Also, as a final note, I've talked to some of the council members individually, and I think it would also be appropriate for calendar 2026 to include an additional 30-day grace period after the proposed Memorial Day weekend to start for this to become enforceable.
Comments or questions from the rest of the council?
So I heard a comment about the state of New Jersey, and my understanding is that there was legislation introduced back in January proposing a statewide implementation plan, 2 years and then a 4-year complete ban. Whether or not that would ever happen is, who knows? What the legislature will do from a state standpoint. I appreciate Bradley Beach wanting to be on the front edge of change environmentally. So I think that's a positive. There is a concern of cost, and that's going to get passed on to the residents, to the people who hire landscapers, and so that's, you know, inevitable. But then again, the gas prices are up, what, 25-30% as well, so gas, and we often see people, we get a surcharge from our services, delivery, et cetera, because of gas costs. So I do think that the whole issue of cost could be manageable, but at the end of the day, we will see some increase in the rates of those who pay for landscapers. And that legislation proposed included the potential to help fund small businesses to transition over time. But again, we don't know if that's ever gonna happen, so it's tough to rely upon the state. And we need to also look at this from the perspective of Bradley Beach. And do what's right for Bradley, not necessarily wait for the state level government or county or federal, and what's right for our community. So I applaud the desire to do this. It just seems very rushed as well, because we're pushing this in. But it's great to hear the different perspectives from the various parties on cost versus environmental. And you know, it'll be interesting as we move through the process here of introduction to adoption. What will we hear?
Yeah. Well, as far as rushing it in, this was originally scheduled to be discussed a few months back, but we had decided to table it to make some changes to the ordinance and getting because of the feedback that we were getting.
So if I could, I would just like to say I appreciate Mitchell's Councilman Carp's initiative.
Well, you
and
have to remember,
interest.
it comes from the Environmental Commission. I
Yeah,
happen to be the liaison for the Environmental
right,
Commission.
but you actually put this
Oh,
forth a few
this-
years ago.
yes.
So I understood that. I just want to share, you know, we've been talking about this for the past number of weeks, as we're approaching this. And personally, I'm very much in favor of doing this because it's a benefit, in the right direction for the community, for the environment, and for health. It's one small step among many other, things that we do in our lives that impact our environment and that creates a greater greenhouse gas effect in our environment. So I think it's a very important step. And most importantly, I think we need to engage the community about this. So initially, I was kind of advocating for a workshop on this. But the format of an ordinance introduction and an adoption at the point of adoption really gives an opportunity for there to be a meaningful discussion, community discussion about it. So that's the direction that we're going in, and I think it's very important for us to reach out to the entire community about this because it does have a very strong impact on you know, people's property and the lifestyle that we're going into in the season. You know, the question is, do we try and get ahead of a Senate proposal that may or may not go into effect? What it does, you can look it up, it's S-623 is really worth reading the details that it would, within 2 years, phase in the banning the sale of two-stage leaf blowers. And then with 4 years, it would ban the use of these two-stage leaf blowers. So it's looking to go in that direction. In addition, it would offer potentially a tax credit to offset 50% of the cost for a transition for the landscapers. So I'm very concerned. I have a small landscaper who it could break his business. Clearly, the cost would go on to the customers. That's no question. And in, you know, the past number of years when we've had inflation and rising gas costs, those costs, as many know, have been transferred on to the residents. So I really want to get a gauge from our community as to the interest in doing this and getting ahead of what the state may be doing. And the question is unknown as to whether they're actually going to be going forward with this. But it's our hope, and you know, I just look to hear more from the community and from the landscapers, and also some of the best practices and experiences from the communities that have gone in this direction, what the challenges are. I do see a very strong issue with enforcement with this. Because it's not just the chainsaws that are cutting trees where it's a kind of a shortened period of time, but it's pervasive throughout the community. So, I think that it will put a strain on our enforcement. But again, personally, I'm in favor of doing this, but I really do want to hear from you.
I will add to a little bit of what Councilwoman Greenblatt just said in that this council, and first of all, I want to thank Councilman Carp because you really have been through the mill a few times on this. As this was first presented to the council and then through various iterations, we've been through a lot of changes and a lot of questions raised specifically about the impact on small businesses or moderate sized businesses. I guess it really doesn't matter. It's going to be an impact on all. I personally want to distinguish my thinking from others have referenced the environment, which is I'm a huge supporter of, environmental safeguards. However, we're talking about this as an ordinance in our noise ordinance. So all of my focus has not been what are the degrees of bad emissions and health impact on our residents or others, just because I assumed we're a relatively small microcosm of a great universe. What I really was focused on was the noise. And Mr. Carp and others have helped explain to me that a 10 or 20% increase in decibels could be the equivalent of a 4 or 5 times increase in noise. So my biggest concern was noise, therefore fittingly fit within a noise ordinance. But I will say, Mr. Gockberg, your testimony in particular did make me more aware for the first time probably of the drain this could be on businesses of all sizes. So what Ms. Greenblatt said was true. The way our process works, we're going to vote tonight. We'll find out momentarily how we'll vote, but this is a vote to introduce. Then 2 weeks from now, we will have another session where we will vote whether should we pass it, the introduction. 2 weeks from now, we'll have an opportunity to vote to adopt. What Councilwoman Greenblatt and I had already discussed was we really want to advertise this to make sure we get more voices from the public to weigh in, both environmentally supportive and small business supportive. So we want more voices like the ones we've heard tonight. What I'm going to suggest is if we vote in favor of an introduction, people should be aware that those of us who might vote in favor tonight could vote opposing it at actual adoption once we've heard more from the public. On the other hand, if the public is overwhelmingly supportive, then it would be a lot easier for this council, I think, to vote in support regardless. So I at least am very taken by the comments offered tonight that at least suggested that there are concerns about voting yes for this ordinance. So I'll leave my comments at that for the time being, but are there any other comments or shall we make a motion?
No, I guess, I'd make a motion to approve the introduction of ordinance 2026-21 to limit the use of leaf blowers.
I will second.
Mr. Noble, excuse Ms. Greenblatt? Yes. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes, I look forward to additional discussions at the next meeting.
Mayor Gubitosi?
I am much closer to middle of the road on this one. I definitely thought it was in the public's best interest to support this ban. But I am much more aware of the burden it would put on businesses. So I am going to vote yes and reserve the right to vote no at adoption.
That applies to all of us, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all, everyone, for your comments on this. This is very important for us to hear your feedback. Okay, the next ordinance is actually one of 5 for adoption. Now, just as a reminder to everyone, for each ordinance adoption, we will open it up for public comment. So if anyone wants to make a comment on any one of these ordinances, raise your hand and let us know. But for right now, my first question for bond ordinance 2026-14, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nowicki.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to introduce, this is for the adoption of bond ordinance 2026-14. The bond ordinance amending in part, bond ordinance 2025-26 that was adopted September 2nd of 2025, providing for sanitary sewer system improvements in order to expand the scope of improvements to include Fifth Avenue and Park Place Avenue sewer replacement and road surfacing, and to increase the appropriations thereby by 1.6 million for a total appropriation of 3.6 million, to increase the authorized bonds and notes to be issued to finance a portion of the cost thereof by $1,040,079, for a total debt authorization of $3,040,079, and to increase the allocation of the appropriation to cost permitted under NJSA 48 2-20, authorized in or by the Borough of Bradley Beach in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. So in basic terminology, what we are doing here is we're increasing the cost of the bond to support the improvement of the Fifth Avenue and Park Place sewer. So this is Fifth Avenue from Madison to Ocean Avenue, as you saw earlier this evening when Shane presented the work that is currently being done. And then one block of Park Place, which would be from Fletcher Lake to Madison. When we had introduced this bond previously, we did not take into account that all the dollars that were required to do this back in September. So we had to increase those values. And what this is doing is basically putting a bond in place that we will then get reimbursed on the section 20, the soft cost, the design cost will come out of that $2 million grant. And then ultimately this money will also be part of the principal forgiveness of $2 million. So this is putting in place the bonding that's required by the infrastructure bank in order for us to move forward with the program. So with that, I'd like to propose any comments from the council or questions?
No, sir.
Covered it.
Back to you.
We've been talking a lot about sewers today. So then I'd like to make a motion to open for public comment.
Second.
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carp?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, comments or questions from the public regarding this ordinance? Any on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Councilman.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment and move to adopt ordinance 2026-14. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carp?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Ordinance 2026-17, I will turn this over to Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Thank you, Mayor. So ordinance 2026-17 is amending Article 4, general regulations applicable to all zones of Chapter 450 zoning of the borough's revised general ordinances to clarify regulations pertaining to undersized lots and pre-existing nonconformities. So this basically focuses on the non-conforming lots, which are generally the lots that are 5,000 square feet or less, more on the northern side of Bradley. And to make clear that these undersized lots are not penalized. So the previous language suggested that for non-conforming lots, you had to keep the existing footprint when making improvements to your home. But this cleans up the language that makes it clear that you can expand on a lot so long as it doesn't create a new variance and work within the zoning setbacks. So any comments from council on this?
Well, one comment is that we prior council a few years ago set this up to protect small lots. As you said, under 5,000 square feet are non-conforming, and smaller lots, which tend to be the north end of town, would be deemed non-conforming and therefore would have to go to the land use board if they wanted to build an addition on their house or something. we changed that language to protect, to insulate those small lots from having to go to land use, as long as whatever changes they were going to make did not create a new variance. And then we somehow mislanguaged that, Mr. Carp and Councilman Carp and Councilwoman Greenblatt brought to our attention. There was this silly, I'll call it silly little language that said, yeah, you're free to make these adjustments as long as you don't create a new variance, as long as you don't change the footprint. Well, thanks a lot for allowing us to build that addition. We can't change the footprint. So what we're effectively doing here is striking the words, as long as you don't change the footprint. And we're just trying to make sure that folks on smaller lots, undersized lots, less than 5,000 square feet, have the ability to do projects and construction projects and so forth. As long as they're not creating a new variance, they don't have to go to land use.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments? No. So I'd like to make a motion to open this to public comment.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Carp,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes. Public comment or questions on this ordinance? Any online? I see no one. Okay,
Great. So can I'd like to make a motion to close public comments and to adopt this ordinance.
second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Carp,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes. Back to Councilman Carp for ordinance 2026-18.
All right, so this ordinance is amending Article 2 terminology and creating a new Article 8 subgrade garages and basements of Chapter 450. Zoning of the borough's revised general ordinances to prohibit subgrade garages and promote flood resilience. So Bradley Beach has been allowing construction of subgrade garages that have historically been problematic to both homeowners and their neighboring property owners. And this ordinance specifically, this amendment specifically disallows below grade garages, which have inherent drain issues, and making these changes promotes flood resilience. There's also a part of this amendment which addresses a change in the minimum vertical separation between the lowest basement or cellar floor and the documented seasonal high water ground, increasing it from 1 feet to 4 feet. The reason that this change was made is 1 foot was not considered standard or best practice and does not promote resilient construction practice. So we still think it's in the best interest of Bradley to continue on with that. That being said, we understand that this change could cause challenges to property owners who are directly affected by this 2 foot change that this could have on their designs, especially given our 35-foot high restrictions. So after speaking with council individually, we're currently looking at granting relief through ordinance, specifically for any resident who is affected by the increase in the distance from 1 feet to 3 feet.
Councilman, just to check, you may have skipped one. Are you describing 2026-18?
No, I jumped to 19.
I think you're on 19.
Oh. Okay.
You all
So
vote.
can we just,
You all vote.
can we just like,
You can do 19 first and then go back to 18. That's
We're gonna
fine.
continue with.
somebody trying to stop me?
You sounded so good. I was.
Sure.
Okay, so we're
do that.
discussing 2026-19. Everyone, 2026-19.
Will the congregation please turn the page?
So go
Sorry
ahead,
about that.
continue. Subgrade garages.
All right. So with regards to subgrade garages, any questions from council?
And there's a lot to discuss about this. I'll just say that, we do have a groundwater issue in town. And the intent of the previous or existing ordinance states that our foundation should be, our basement slab should be 1 foot above seasonal high water, which is not a best practice for building whatsoever. You should have a 2 to 3 feet, desirably 3 feet of clearance between seasonal high water and your slab. But again, we are in a wet environment. But so a 1 foot really is the absolute minimum that you would ever do. Because what happens is your pumps are always running and you're always pumping water out onto the street, onto those curb pop outs onto the street. And so it exacerbates the groundwater. So if you're on higher property and everything, so, you know, hydrogeology drains down to the lower elevations, as you stick in basements and push down like a sponge, you're pushing that water further, exacerbating the properties around you. And so by raising that foundation level up to 3 feet, it allows more ground to absorb water and not pushing that sponge and pushing that water to lower elevations. And so from an engineering standpoint, the best practice would be 3 feet. It does create problems when you have a lot that has a high water table, and that can happen on a perched property right next to somebody else who doesn't have any issue at all. That could be sandy soil, no water, no groundwater identified. And here you have clays and you have a perched water table. Now, all of a sudden, that particular property has a problem. So we need to look at this collectively, but the idea of raising this is the right thing to do. When you think about the rules that were mentioned earlier in the public comment period of the new New Jersey DEP real rules for flood areas, we are facing something from July 20th based on the current statute. And although there's a lot of talk about this not happening or being delayed or maybe lawsuits being filed, we have to, as a council, responsibly have to move forward with addressing the rules that are being put in place. And those rules that are being put in place are going to restrict, or basically prohibit basements and anywhere in what is referred to as the CAF area, the cafe area, which basically is half the borough, basically from the maybe the 420 block of every avenue east to Ocean Avenue will have an impact. And so those are all the CAF areas under the DEP new rules, which all the ordinances regarding groundwater, putting basements in, equipment are all going to be out the door. And so we have a big issue ahead of us, and we have to assume that we are doing the right things to deal with that by July 20th, which we're working on trying to address. This particular ordinance has nothing to do specifically, wasn't really created because of REAL, but it does address one of the problems of REAL, and that is the properties that are west of, say Fletcher Lake Road, so street. So everything west of to Main Street, those properties are outside that CAF area, and they're still subject to this issue of groundwater as well. But their issue will be less because they're in higher elevations. As you go east, this is going to impact the properties closer to the ocean than the ones further to the west. So all that being said, I think that this is really important. The subgrade garages being prohibited is the right thing to do because that's what exacerbates things. And the 3 feet, if we can find a way to introduce and quickly adopt ordinances to address, as we raise these things, these basements up out of, or the foundations out of our higher elevations, we have a 35-foot maximum elevation in the town that you cannot exceed 35 feet from your ground to the top of your roof. But if you raise everything up an additional 2 feet, and now you're at 37 feet. So if we can do something that we can consider that when you have a groundwater issue, that you have some relief on that higher elevation that you can raise up a little bit, assuming you can get everything else to work on your property, steps and everything else to get up there. That 2 feet can be made up of basement height, first floor height, second floor height, and get some vertical relief, whether it be a foot or 2 feet, to accommodate that would solve that problem in the short term. Long term, we got a bigger issue with REAL and what's coming down the road. But short term, in order to enable people to deal with what our goal is to relieve the groundwater. So raise up the 3 feet. But now we have to address the top elevation issue. And if we can do that, that basically, I think, solves the problem for the residents who are looking to build and put in a basement or have to raise their elevation up because of a groundwater issue. So that's, I think an important point here.
So they would need to document the high water mark.
Right, so a professional has to come in, look at the well and be able to document what is that seasonal high groundwater. And from there, the foundation has to be 3 feet up.
Mhm.
But then from there, they could actually have their design done for their whole house and be able to come back and say, okay, I need 2 feet of relief from that 35 to 37 feet, or the 36 and a half feet, whatever that might be, and be able to work our ordinance to accommodate that, solves that problem and gets what we want. I would have loved to have been able not to have my house to have a 35-foot elevation limitation as constrained what I could do because of the groundwater. And I was trying to get up above that groundwater. So I ended up not putting it in a basement, only putting it in a crawl space.
Right. But this does not prohibit, this ordinance in itself does not prohibit a basement.
No, you can put a
Just to be
basement
clear.
in right now.
Right, but real will prohibit
Right,
basements.
which is a separate issue
Right.
from all of this.
Other comments?
No, I think I think it was just important to note that, because I've heard, testimony that, this will prohibit basements, and that's not that's not the case.
It prohibits it if in fact they can't get a elevation, if they can't work out their floor heights to
Right.
meet the 35 feet restriction.
Right.
Or be able to get, right now, you'd have to go for a variance to get higher than 35 feet. But if we can do an ordinance in these situations of groundwater to be able to give relief, that could solve that problem, in my opinion.
And at the risk of being redundant, I'm just gonna try to capsulize a little bit of what you just said, Councilman. This ordinance is doing two things, right? It's prohibiting underground garages where you have an angled driveway, inviting water into your basement. The second thing it's doing is raising the measurement, the vertical measurement above the high level water mark. So it's raising it 2 feet. Now that was a concern, and this is what I alluded to, Mr. Greenberg, when you were talking earlier. That the council has not only been very concerned about that, because we want people to have their full basement. Not just you, sir, but all residents, all residents who might be building, we want them to have their plans, whatever they wanted, a basement. And the only way to truly do that, normally you'd be capped. If you wanted to move your basement up 2 feet and you're still capped at 35-foot height, you lose 2 feet somewhere in your house. Now you can choose to do that, but what Councilman Nowicki said was, if we can create this, I will share with the public, the council has already created a draft ordinance that we still have to refine over the next 2 weeks, but right now we basically have full agreement, although Councilwoman DeNoble hasn't been with us, she's traveling. But the 4 folks sitting here have tacit agreement that we will introduce an ordinance in 2 weeks at our next council meeting that will give folks that relief, that 2-foot height relief. We have the draft, we just have to work with our council and make sure that we refine it so it works. But the goal will be that anyone, whether you're sitting here in this audience, whether you're on Zoom, or whether you're not even aware of this council meeting, if we introduce this second ordinance on April 21st, and we adopt it in the first meeting in May. Do Erica know offhand what that date is? May 5th?
Yeah, I believe
It is, okay. We could not necessarily adopt it May 5th. It would have to get a consistency review. But depending on when the land use board is meeting, get a consistency review. The latest I think we would be able to adopt it would be end of May, because land use will give consistency. That gives us 20 days into the middle of June, a full month ahead of anything that Real might do. So as long as anyone has plans, as long as they get those plans in before, within that estoppel period or shortly after that estoppel period, they'll have a full month ahead of Real. If Real happens, Real might not happen.
It's happening.
Well, it may not happen in
If
July
it's-
20th.
If it gets stopped or delayed. It
We
is happening.
haven't
Yeah.
heard that it's not stopped or delayed at
No,
this point.
No, but I guess I wanted to make sure folks understood what the council's thinking. This is atypical, but I'm gonna,
May I ask a question? I don't know if it's.
We're about to move to the public.
yeah, we're gonna have public comment. But anyway, I wanted to make sure folks are aware that we 100%, I think we're uniformly agreed, we do want to eliminate underground garages. But in that part of the this ordinance is locked in, but we think we have a good relief plan for anyone who's struggling with that increment of 2 feet above the ground. Any other comments?
Nope, I'd like to make a motion to open up ordinance 2026-19, amending chapter 450 for public comment.
Second.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Can I also suggest that as you,
I need your name and
I'm
address.
sorry, Danny Greenberg, 221 Newark,
Thank
soon
you.
to be 317 in Lorraine, hopefully soon, in the basement. Can I also suggest that you might consider not only raising the height by 2 feet, but also looking at what the definition of a basement is as well. My understanding is that currently a basement has to have more height below ground than above ground. So let's assume that the groundwater is at 6 feet for whatever reason, right? If the basement can be no lower than 3 feet above that, well, now you're at 3 feet. So if you want to do an 8-foot basement, there's gonna be 5 feet above ground. That's not allowed. Right?
For a cellar.
That's called a
That's
cell.
called, but I think a cellar has to be less than 8 feet, I believe, right? It has to be no more than 7 feet, I think. So that's my recollection. I may be wrong and don't.
We can.
You would know, but-
We can look
But I
at
was
that,
sugge-
but.
I would urge you to take a look at that language.
So that could be looked at
Thank
and, but again, what we're trying to do is minimize, try to be as close to that 35
Sure.
feet while accommodating groundwater, not to have people going to 40 feet.
No. I
You
know,
know,
you go.
and that's the risk.
But if you raise it up 2 feet from all the way, below ground, so some of that basement's gonna be sticking up.
Understood, so that definition needs to be. clear.
Exactly, yeah, thank you.
This is.
If I could make a suggestion, I've dealt with this issue in Fairhaven. So you need an average grade of the lot, or you need to pick a spot on the lot that's most reasonable, like curb level. And then the first floor elevation, the FFE, is really how you control that mounding, the mounding issue that you're describing. And I would encourage you to look at Fairhaven's ordinance that I worked on. Cause it's the same issue there, right? High property values, trying to get as much square footage as possible. Yeah, I'm sure I still have it, but that was the issue there. High property values, trying to gain as much square footage as possible. So they would mound up the lots, and then there's a house that's really like 42 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's not really.
Right, and right now we don't mound lots because we have a prevalent grade already established.
Oh,
And
okay,
that
so
would
you just
take-
need FFP then.
So that would then, to change that prevalent grade, you would have to do a variance for that, a zone variance to be able to raise the
Yes.
property level.
Yeah.
And that, that's just another step in the process, so.
Yeah, that's how they did it in Fairhaven though.
Okay.
It's same thing.
But they're not as dense a community, so when you're.
No, but they have the same economic issue on their properties. So Fairhaven, because they go to school at Rumson, has very high property values. And so getting as much square footage is, it's the same issue as the resort community, basically. You know, yours is exacerbated by the smaller lots. It's a boom.
Thank you, comment, well taken, thank you. Other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Frank Loy, 104 Brindley Avenue.
Thank you.
It's good to see everyone. Last time we were here at the last meeting, there was a gentleman on Zoom that lives across from the lot that we bought from the church. And I believe he's well over 35 feet tall. And Councilman Nowicki, I really appreciate the fact that you guys are considering giving us a little bit more headroom. When I spoke to TJ, he had mentioned, and I don't build homes for a living, so excuse me if I'm incorrect, but the ground around the home is where the home would be measured from. We're not looking to cheat as far as height goes. All we're looking to do is have dry basements, and we understand what you all are doing as well. In town, if you took the church lots away, I don't think there's very many empty lots. The concern that you all have for the amount of water that's getting pumped out of the basements is understood as well. We don't want to do that. So I think that if you allow us with that little bit of extra height, we won't be above any of the homes that are on, Lorraine, that are facing north and even facing south. And most of the homes to the west are already up on, I don't know if they're considered dirt mounds or what have you, but they have basements as well. I mentioned the last time in the last meeting, it was where the church was elevated on its own wall and then elevated up further. Gentleman I worked with got married there. He was a fire chief here in town. Spoke to Matt and some of the others as far as, dry basement, no issue. And now with real and everything else, we have a little bit of an issue. So I'd like to say thank you for considering us, because we're spending everything that we have to do this, and it's you know, forever home to move into Bradley. We've been renting 5 years here now, and it's difficult to buy something that you can fix and repair and love. So thank you for doing that, and if we can, you know, get you our plans and everything, and you guys approve, or, you know, add that little bit of, you know, height for us, that would be great. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, back to you, Councilman.
Okay, so that being said, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment and adopt ordinance 2026-19, amending chapter 450.
Second. Mr. Noble, excuse Ms. Greenblatt? Yes. Mr. Park?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Now I'm gonna go backwards to ordinance 2026-18 and ask Mr. Clark to handle this for us.
All right. So this one is quite simple. It allows for a wider driveway for corner houses when that house has a 2-car garage. Previously, the maximum driveway width was 10 feet, and this increases it to 16 feet from the property line to the home. This makes it a lot easier for 2 cars to be parked on the driveway. It also makes it a lot easier for egress in and out of the driveways. Questions from you?
I did notice one thing that I wanted to ask you, and I meant to call you and ask you this question about this particular thing. So we say a 2-car garage. What if you have a 1.5-car garage that's basically 16 feet wide? You can't have a 16-foot wide driveway. We specifically state 2-car garage.
Well, it says specifically 16 feet.
But we say the garage has to be 2-car. So I'm just wondering if it was a 1.5-car garage, could you have your driveway the same width as the garage at 16 feet? Because right now it says it has to be a 2-car garage, and 1.5-car garage is not a 2-car garage.
The intent of the ordinance was to alleviate off-street parking as well, to be able to have 2 cars parked on the side. So I would think that.
So it doesn't have to be maybe a 1.5-car, maybe or equal to the width of the garage. If the garage is only a 1-car garage and it's only 14 feet wide, that means you're still gonna allow a 16-foot wide driveway. No, because you have to have a 2-car garage in the United States. So that's my question, is should we be just tweaking that language a tad to allow for it to be a 1.5-car garage?
Right, so so the lesser of 16 feet or the width of the garage. How do we define the garage?
We call it 16, outside wall 16.
Okay.
So, or the garage door opening, you could argue.
Okay.
So I know I was involved in the early development of this along with Councilman Carp and the chair of the land use board. And Councilman Nowicki, the concern at that time was navigation in and out of the 2-car garage for 2 cars. So what would be the value in taking up that impervious coverage, for example, for a 1.5-car garage?
Well, I just think that somebody maybe has a car and a golf cart. A 2.5-car. You see what I'm saying? Or bicycles, and your car's parked there, and now you don't have it, you come out of your garage and you're coming onto a grass area versus just being able to come down the pavement.
I mean, I understand the practicality, I guess. The
And like the
question is-
impervious issue, it's a trade-off. What do you want to do? But if somebody wanted to do that, we're saying you can't, you don't have a 2-car garage. So your driveway would have to be narrower. You have 16 foot wide if you have a 1.5-car garage.
Or a true golfer would probably have a 2-car garage just so they could store all their clubs and everything in the second bay, right?
But that was my only issue on
Well,
this.
that golf cart is not only for golfers now.
I
We know that.
I mean, I'm comfortable with the 2-car garage definition, but I mean, it's a valid point. I don't know if that would be a de minimis change or not to this regulation.
It says this.
Oh, this went through the land use board already, correct? And then you're changing the widths of like of the parameters of it, so I think it has to go back to them. I would point out that my understanding during this process was that they intended flared driveways.
Yeah,
They did.
they did, but the width of being 16 which is what the goal was for a two-car garage. So you got 2 cars in the garage theoretically, and you could park 2 cars on the driveway. But now if you only have a 1.5 car garage, we're saying, no, you can only have a 12-foot driveway.
Drive on your grass.
And your garage your door could be.
Yeah, a really expensive custom garage door probably too.
Well, they come in different sizes, you know. I have a 1.5 car garage, that's why I'm familiar with this issue. So I paved my garage right up to my full width of my garage. And I can, my car in there and, or we park behind it and I can get things in and out of the garage and not be trucking through grass or mud.
But Mr. Cannon,
I mean, I can't say I was deeply enough involved in it to
no, I'm just saying.
really opine one way or another, but if you change the parameter of the width of
It
the
would have to go
driveway,
back.
like it's clearly a zoning parameter.
We're not changing the width of the driveway, we're changing the width of the garage.
You're changing the permitted like the perimeter measurements or parameters of improvements that can be constructed, which is literally the import of a zoning ordinance. So
Understood. So
I'm not saying you're wrong, but it would have to go back.
You know, just something to look at.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm personally prepared to vote, but it's up to you guys if.
Maybe an issue, it may not be, or somebody wants to put the wider drive, they have to come for a variance.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you want a 2-car garage or a 1-car garage, do a 1.5. So we could leave it to go for a variance.
I'm comfortable continuing on.
You wanna make a motion?
So I would make a motion to, I think I did already, close public comment and adopt ordinance 2026-18.
I think I seconded it.
Yeah. Okay. I think we were getting to the voting and you.
Yeah, public comment on this?
No,
No, we never
you
did.
did not. You didn't open it either.
Not on the driveway, we did.
You didn't make a motion to open it either.
Not yet.
Okay.
You had council comment.
That was all council comments, so good thing we did.
Opening up.
All right, so can I make a different motion? To open up the ordinance 2026-18 for public comment.
Second,
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi,
Yes.
public comment.
Frank Lloyd, 104 Brindley Avenue. I have a question because I'm a corner lot and I read the ordinance and I don't understand it. I don't have a garage. Or probably will not be able to fit one with the 25-foot setback in the front and in the back. Because the entrance to the driveway will be on Madison and it's one way with parking on both sides. Does that affect me where the apron or the driveway itself to be able to turn in would be allowed to be the 12 feet going in? Or that's what I didn't understand about the ordinance. So if you don't have a garage, how does it affect you? And can you have something wide enough that, you know, especially during season, when people are parked right up on top of the apron, like, you know, to pull in? So that's what, you know, I was hoping that was gonna, because that way we could park the vehicles, you know, off the street.
So are you putting a driveway with no garage?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to fit the garage because of the ground coverage that's allowed.
So in this case, you would not be able to put a 16-foot wide
Right.
driveway.
Right.
Stone.
Because there's no garage.
Right.
Right.
But if he had 16 feet, he could squeeze 2 cars in.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, the challenge would be, well, you have to remember, it's from the property line. It's not from where the sidewalk hits the grass.
Okay.
It's depending on, you know, it's different on every street. I know in my street, it's probably 4 feet from the sidewalk to my front yard. And at that point is where the driveway can then would be able to flare out to 16 feet. But up until that point, so there's no change in the width we're not changing the width of the apron. And also we're not changing the width of the 10-foot driveway up to where your property actually starts.
So that it won't be allowed 12 feet to be able to get it. It's 10 feet.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Other comments from the public or questions? I see no hands on Zoom, so Mr. Clark.
I would make a motion to close public comment and adopt ordinance 2026-18, amending chapter 450.
Second,
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes. Now, Mitch, you've got me totally
Now we're
misnumbered.
22.
Yeah.
We're
20,
22.
22.
So we we now, for anyone who's still keeping track with where we are on this agenda, it's ordinance 2026-22, and I'm going to ask Ms. Councilwoman Greenblatt to cover this.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is ordinance amending chapter 450 zoning of the borough's revised general ordinances to clarify that a zoning permit is required for improvements within public easements, rights of way, and planting strips. And again, this is also a cleanup of the language to include the planting strips, which currently prohibits pavers, asphalt, stones, or artificial turf in the planting strip and rights of way if making any changes under zoning. So do I have any comments from council? Nope. And I'd like to make a motion to open to public comment.
Second.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Park,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes.
Any questions from the public? Okay, so seeing no questions, I'll make a motion to close public comment and to adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Park,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes. Okay, ordinance 2026-23, this is an ordinance amending chapter 314, nuisances public of the borough's revised general ordinances to prohibit sleeping, camping, and overnight occupancy on public property. Any comments or questions on this one?
That includes snoozing on the day offs.
Occasionally. Okay, no further comments from the council, so I'll make a motion to open it up to the public. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Jane's not here.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Carr.
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes, public comments regarding this ordinance, sleeping on public property. Seeing no hands, I will make a motion to close public comment and adopt ordinance 2026-23.
Second.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi.
Yes. That finally concludes ordinances, and now we will move to item 10 on our agenda, communications. We do have a communication. As mayor, I am appointing Lauren Saracine to our Arts Council. And I want to welcome her aboard. Our Arts Council is a relatively new entity starting up last year. And they've had great momentum with a lot of the leadership from Councilwoman Greenblatt. But Lauren is our most recent member as of tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 11, resolutions. We have a consent agenda, items 103 through 106. Does the council want to discuss any or have any voted out separately?
Mayor, if I could,
Please.
just make one comment on the payment of bills list. On the front page, you'll notice under manual checks wires, $5,000 payment to Second Avenue Grill LLC. That is for the purchase of equipment that is inside that structure, left there by the previous concessionaire. We're currently out to bid now for a new concessionaire for that space. And the $5,000 is for the borough of Bradley Beach to purchase the hood, 3-bay sink, grease trap, and some other equipment in there. So just wanted to let the council know that that's what the $5,000 is being used for. But ultimately it's to benefit the next concessionaire going there as well.
So it's an upgrade to the building, basically.
And Matt, that equipment has been there 4 years or so. It's relatively new equipment.
It's relatively new. The previous concessionaire installed it. It was vacant beforehand. But, you know, when you install a hood to try to take that out, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Same thing with a grease trap and other stuff. So, you know, along with the plumbing that is required for those 3-bay sinks, which is a requirement of, you know, the health department, along with another sink requirement of health department. So that's why we thought it would be a good idea we negotiate the price, and we will pay $5,000. So I just want to know.
Did they share what that price of that equipment was when they installed it?
Excuse me?
Did they offer the price that they actually purchased 4 years ago when they put that equipment in there? Do we have any idea what the value was? what discount are we getting from what the original purchase and installation cost would be?
I don't know, but it probably exceeds $15,000 to $20,000 for that wood insulation. It's
That was my
Kinda like-
what magnitude of savings?
Yeah, we don't have an exact invoice purchase price, but Biagic Fund told me it might be as much as 50,000 new. So to get it for 5,000 seemed very reasonable.
That's my point. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so again, to the council, any items 103 through 106 that we'd like to discuss or vote on separately?
No.
All right, I'll make a motion then that we approve consent agenda resolution items 2026-103 through 2026-106.
Second.
Mr. Noble excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carp?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, moving to individual resolutions. We're starting with the beach operations schedule, 20.
And Mayor, if I may, make a comment on this, our mistake, where you said where it says, be it resolved that lifeguards, that should read gate guards. So the lifeguards, as I mentioned before, are 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday and Sunday. But the gate guards are the ones that are, 9 to 4:30 and 9 to 3:30. And that's also when you'd have to pay for admission to the beach. So if we could just change that.
Yeah,
apologies,
tell us what-
to be gate guards instead of lifeguards.
What about the times? We have to.
Times are the same,
Oh,
So this isn't about lifeguards at all.
not about lifeguards, about gate guards.
Right, but so the mistype was not including the words gate guards.
Right,
But not the-
lifeguards have nothing to do with beach operations. It's the gate guards. This falls under Sean, not Mike.
okay, okay.
Okay, I got it.
So apologies.
So Erica, you were correct that it was same language as last year.
Okay,
And this is you know, kind of acknowledging, you know, it used to be, on weekends, I think it used to be, well, I guess weekends is 9 to 4:30, it used to be 9 to 5.
Yeah, we.
yeah, that's what,
We did
yeah, I
drop it
knew there
down.
was something with this
And 9 to
last year,
3:30,
yes.
so it gives a little bit of a break to people
Yes,
entering the beach in the later
and
afternoon.
if I
while
remember,
the guards are
Mayor,
still
that
on.
was the
Yeah.
purpose of that
Half an
last
hour early
year.
on
Right.
weekends and weekdays.
Yep, okay, no problem, thank you.
Okay, so first I will make a motion to change the language in 2026-107 to replace the word lifeguards with gate guards.
Second.
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carp?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes, and now I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2026-107 as amended.
Second.
Mr. Noble excused, Mr. Carp?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes.
I'm getting all you guys confused because you're jumping around with people making motions and.
Okay, we're moving to 2026-108. This definitely requires a little discussion, but we are about to discuss setting the daily and weekly beach badge prices for 2026. Currently, the daily is $13, the weekly is $45. We do have a number of expenditures that are hitting the beach. Some are one time, for example, later on this agenda, we'll be presumably authorizing the purchase of a Kubota compact truck loader. That is just under $100,000. We should have more than ample surplus to use to purchase that Kubota. However, there are other expenditures that are more of an ongoing nature related to recent debt service that we've either already created for the Moby mats and the repairs to come on the ramps. That was $450,000 borrowing. And then the building that is being renovated currently also is subject to debt service, the sewer pump station. So given that extra ongoing cost for the next 20 years or so for the building, I think we should consider an increase in these prices. Just as a rule of thumb for everybody, for the council as well as the public, $1 daily equates to approximately $100,000, $120,000 in beach revenue. The debt service will be significantly more than that, 150,000 plus. However, there will be some revenue generated from that concession that gets built at the sewer pump station. So the starting point in my mind would be consider raising daily to $14 and weekly, that's around a 6 or 7% increase. Doing the same on weekly would be bringing it to about $48. So as a starting point, I would suggest 14 and 48.
Have we
Comments?
held steady at 13 for a couple of years?
At least
Yes.
1 year, two?
I'd say at least,
Two or three.
I wanna say three.
Okay.
Right,
And by the way,
Right.
someone can propose going higher than this. I think we still have a very ample surplus. We should. We're waiting for final numbers to come in for 2025. But we entered 2025 with over 700,000 surplus. And all expectations are that we had a successful beach season, a sunny season, over 2 million in beach badge revenue. So we probably added to that surplus. We may be 800,000 or 900,000 surplus, if I had to guess. So any dollar we're short, we have surplus as a cushion to cover us. Any dollar we add that we don't need, we'll just be adding to a pretty
You know,
robust.
I think the surpluses that we have shouldn't be used to fund. I think they're meant to be available for emergencies, for unexpected things, not for the general operating of the beach.
This is,
Or bad weather, yeah.
right, just 100% true. Understand it's a $700,000 surplus on a $2.5 million budget, so it's I'll call it a grossly adequate surplus to a point that we probably don't need it for bad weather.
Well, I think we've had like the past 2 summers, we've had very good weather, summer weather. But there was a summer where we had and it impacted the
I
revenue.
believe when I first joined the council, our surplus in the beach utility was 50,000, 50. That was dangerously low. But we do have a CFO in the audience. Mr. Sine, any thoughts to share how much of a surplus in the beach utility, 700,000-800,000, is that adequate only to cover seasonal fluctuations? Or is that sufficient to offset some operating expenses to keep the beach badge prices down?
Yeah, I mean, it's sufficient to offset some operating expenses, and also I know that there are some capital expenditures that we want to make, and I think it's a good use of those funds to utilize for the capital expenditures we need related to the beach.
But can also, just because Councilman Carp brought it up, what might be, reasonable, broadly speaking, a reasonable surplus that we would look to maintain to cover us for seasonal fluctuations is?
Yeah, we wouldn't need 700,000 or 800,000. It would be more in the $200,000 to $300,000 range.
Okay, so we have a very adequate surplus.
More than adequate surplus, correct.
There was a point we reached $1 million in surplus, and little by little we built ramps, so we've done things. Again, keep this in mind for all of us, for the public as well. We, the council, are custodians of this beach utility. We really shouldn't ever be in a position where we're overcharging the public. And someone could accuse us if we build too large a surplus that we've overcharged. So we kind of want to manage it. But it's a little bit of an art form rather than a science.
Do we know, Mayor, what the adjacent communities are charging for their dailies and multis? Are those published? Or maybe, Matt, you know what like Belmar charges for a daily, or what those rates are this year?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But this question though, Councilman, comes up every year since I've been around.
That's why I figured I'd ask it.
Yeah. Just a couple thoughts. One is, I personally never liked looking at the other rate. I mean, out of curiosity.
We don't want to be higher necessarily.
Right.
No, we don't want to be, but what I have observed in COVID was striking evidence. We raised our beach badge prices from $10 back in 2020 to $13, a 30% increase, because we were worried about social distancing and that we wouldn't have as many people come to the beach, so we had to charge a lot more per person. And that's where we generated $1 million surplus in 1 year, because one, everybody came to the beach, but two, it evidenced to me tremendous elasticity in the pricing. like Bradley Beach can be $1 or $2 higher than Asbury, or $2 higher than Avon. But if people come to Bradley Beach as a matter of routine, something they've done or their families have done for years, they don't want to look for how do you park in Avon or is there parking at all available in Asbury? So what I've observed is within reason, I'm not at all suggesting price gouging, but I'm less concerned about what neighboring boroughs or towns charge because we all tend to be somewhat self-sustaining.
Well, and you don't want to come back every year with another increase, edging this every year, and go another dollar, another dollar, another dollar. You don't want to do that either, so.
And I think at 13 daily, last year, there were some nearby towns that were a little higher and some that were a little lower and some that were on par.
I think they were roughly all in, and especially for dailies, it's harder to compare weeklies, but I think for dailies they were, and you've acknowledged we've held 13 for a few years, so I hope the question is really, is it 14 or 15 as opposed to holding it at 13?
Well, and the capital improvements and, some service that, that we have to, we are doing improvements to the beach and we have to be able to fund that. And we want to do that proactively, not reactively.
Right.
And I think that having not had an increase in several years, having a 6% increase, 6 or 7% increase daily and weekly is not egregious. I think that's less than inflation.
I wouldn't like to see us go over 14. I mean, I would be comfortable putting it at what you recommended, 14 and 48. You and I had talked about it, but.
All right, well, seeing no further comment, I'll make a motion that we approve 2026-108 using the daily badge price of $14 and a weekly badge price of $48.
Okay. Second?
Mr. Noble? Excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Okay, 2026-109, requesting permission from the Director of the Division of Local Government Services for a dedication by rider for an unemployment compensation insurance trust fund. And our relatively new CFO identified to the council that we actually have a trust established, been used for many years, decade perhaps, that we don't officially have a dedication by rider. So this is just an error correction on behalf of the borough. Thank you, Mr. Simon, for identifying it for us. And this is just requesting permission from the Director of DLGS to give us a dedication by rider. Any comments or questions?
I think this was one of the items that was on the corrective action audit report.
That's correct. There were 7 trusts that were at issue. And we're going through those to make a determination whether they actually should be continued as trusts. In which case we would need to get permission from the DLGS via dedication by rider, or if and we're looking into all of those, but this one was quite obvious that we needed it, so we went ahead and went forward that right away.
So any, if no other comments or questions, I'll make a motion that we approve 2026-109.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. 2026-110 is a corrective action plan for the 2024 audit. I am super pleased to say we have our corrective action plan for the most recent audit. Roughly 2 months after we received the audit report, which compares favorably to last time, which was about 2 years later. I spent a good time with Mr. Syme, going through the comments to make sure that they were descriptive, that they gave enough detail to let the DCA know that we are in fact taking specific action rather than using generic language suggesting that yes, we will comply. We are actually saying how we will comply. So again, I applaud our new CFO for getting us to this point. And are there any comments or questions?
I think it's fantastic that we've addressed it with productive responses of what we're going to do. So I did look through those and that I was like, wow, that's great.
All right, so with that said, I will make a motion to approve resolution 2026-110.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2026-111, approving deputy court administrators as signatories for Neptune City General and bail bank accounts. Neptune City, of course, is the court that we took on last year in a shared service, and they need to be co-signatories on their money. Any comments or questions?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2026-111.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes.
My brain tonight, I'm so sorry, everybody.
So.
Oh, thank you, Councilman Nowicki.
Speaking of Councilman Nowicki, resolution 2026-112, Mr. Nowicki, would you like to take that?
Yes, this is for the approval to submit an award extension request for LA 2024 MA Bradley Beach Borough Fifth Avenue improvements 13 to the New Jersey Department of Transportation. So this is for we have received a grant for Fifth Avenue. And this is for between Madison and Ocean. And what we're looking to do is use that grant money to resurface after we do the sewers. We're waiting for DEP to approve our sewer plans. And we're waiting, biting our nails any day. And right now, because we've encroached into the summer months here, that grant expires here in May. So we are proactively requesting an extension so that just in case the EP doesn't give us the authorization to award that contract, which includes the pavement, we don't want that grant money to be at risk. So this is basically making sure we don't lose that grant. So with that, I'd like to, any questions or comments?
No.
Is it likely that we'll get the extension?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, verbally, yes, already, but we had to, get a resolution to be able to request this and, put it through. So I'd like to, request a motion to approve, resolution 2026-112.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Moving to 2026-113, I will turn this over to Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Great. So as the liaison to the Recreation Committee, I had asked the mayor if I could just speak to this. And this happens annually, but it's 7 free passes for Bradley Beach Elementary School students for scholarship for the summer camp program. So the summer camp program for one camper is $726, so it's a value of $5,082 of give back to Bradley Beach Elementary School students to attend the camp. So on behalf of Recreation as liaison, I just, encourage mayor and council to vote in favor of this and continue this program. It's a wonderful thing. So I make a motion to approve 2026-113 Recreation Summer Camp Scholarship Program.
Second.
Mr. Noble, excuse, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2026-114 temporary emergency appropriations. The way this works, everyone, is that we already early or mid-January, we approved a temporary budget that got us to the first 3 months of the year. We are now in the 4th month of the year, and in order to continue operations, we need to establish a temporary budget beginning in April. And Mr. Syme taking us through Memorial Day, is that the target?
Target that I reached out to each individual department to find out what kind of expenditures they would need to make between now and May 31st. So this should cover us up through May 31st.
And across all, just my quick math is a little over 1.1 million across all 3 utilities current.
That's correct.
And you're confident that's sufficient at this point?
Barring any kind of unseen emergency,
Okay.
that should be sufficient. Yes.
Any comments or questions from the council?
Yeah, fun question is, when will we see a draft budget and which meeting are we looking for that? And,
The expectation, this is back and forth with our experts, but The expectation is that I will see a very preliminary draft, actually today. I haven't seen it yet. But that's still my expectation. So before I go to sleep tonight, I hope to have it. That along with the AFS. So both are due today. So very shortly. The plan also for the public's benefit is, our plan is to be able to spend the next 2 weeks reviewing that budget that I should receive and introduce it on April 21st. That is our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on 114? No, seeing none, I will make a motion that we approve 2026-114.
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Nowitzki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Okay, 2026-115, the purchase of a Kubota compact truck loader through ECSNJ Cooperative. And this is just shy of $100,000, $97,595.65. And my first reaction was, what do we need this for? And Biagio told me quickly that if we don't have it, we won't be able to move lockers on and off the beach this year, because the equipment we've been using is 16 years old. It's falling apart. It's very expensive to repair. We do have funding in the beach capital account. So I think this is a very necessary beach utility expenditure. But comments or questions?
I have a little comment, but it's really not about the expenditure. We had two versions of this and we had a change in the price. But on the previous version, I just noted that there was a tariff surcharge of $734. So I'm just making note of that. I didn't see it on the newer one. So I don't know if we're paying a tariff on this or not, but I just kind of find it interesting in the world we're living in now that we're actually putting tariffs on these things.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the invoice cost to acquire the
And
equipment.
again, this is not market, this is going to a state contract, which is a
Yes.
discounted price from what is. the actual list
27%
price.
discount, yeah.
So,
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve 2026-115.
second,
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Nowitzki?
yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. 2026-116, I will turn this to Councilman Nowicki.
Right, this is for the authorization of a award for professional services for suburban consulting engineers for the sanitary sewer improvements at Fifth Avenue, Phase 2, Park Place Avenue, and Ocean Park Avenue. Those are the projects that were presented earlier, and the ones that will be under construction here post Labor Day that we're going to be advertising in the next month or so once we get approval from DEP. These professional services are for construction inspection and support during construction, and we have to have this in place. So when DEP says you're authorized for advertisement, do you have your professional services in place for inspection? We can say, yes, here it is.
And the resolution notes the fees that we're paying them, authorizing to pay just shy of 200,000, but they will be subject to reimbursement from the 2 million. Is that correct?
No, from the, yes, for the 2 million of construction dollars, not 2 million of the design. Design is separate than the construction.
Okay,
So that would cost principal forgiveness and or out of borrowed money if we had to tap a borrowing line of the infrastructure bank.
Very good. Comments or questions?
And also move to adopt that resolution. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Noble excused, Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Nowitzki?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. That takes us through the resolutions and on to item 12 on the agenda, announcements. There are none. 13A, the infamous administrator report. Matthew, do you have a report for us?
Yes, Mayor, very short report. Some very good news. The rec center is scheduled to have their grand opening for the work that was done there on the playground and the courts on Saturday, April 25th. So the entire community is encouraged to come out and join in that celebration from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
And of course, those courts look fantastic, by the way. And that child lot walk on that because it's like you're walking on a sponge cake. It's unbelievable.
Yes, sir. Progress is being made on the pump station renovation where the new men's and women's restrooms will be. And as I mentioned before, we're currently out to bid for a concessionaire for the space there as well. And also, we're still being very aggressive in trying to secure grants, whether it's through Department of Transportation, Department of Community Affairs, and reaching out to our legislative partners, both on a state and federal level. In particular, Senator Booker's office, to again, try to bring as much money back to Bradley Beach for infrastructure projects, as much as possible. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Has our resolution been acknowledged about REAL that went out to all of the legislators and so forth?
So far, I've had one town reach out to me. They wanted a copy of ours in Words. They can do it at their council meeting. I think it was Longport. It was some town I had never heard of, but it was one that I sent it to, so.
Right, I mean, hopefully we get some responses.
There was another town a little south of us, starting with B, that also is gonna pass a similar resolution.
When they,
Following Bradley Beach's lead, of course.
you probably never referenced that southern town before, right? This is a new one. All right, great. Thank you, sir. Moving to item 13B, we'll go with mayor and council reports. I'll start with Councilman Carter.
Thank you. So met yesterday with the Environmental Commission. They meet once a month on the first Monday of each month. This weekend, they will be hosting and running the Clean Ocean Action Beach Sweep. So it's this Saturday, April 11th from 9 a.m. to 12:30. If you're interested, you have to register. So you go to cleanoceanaction.org and you register and meet everybody at the Fifth Avenue gazebo at 9 a.m. There's also going to be a project for removing our invasive knotweed that they started last year. So this is the second time that they'll be working on that. It's going to be May 30th from 9 to 11. So they're going to be asking for volunteers. We're still a couple months away, so more information to follow. They're also working with the beach department, also the DEP on acquiring and installing dune protection markers. You may have noticed that when you go to the beach on the ocean side of the dunes, we have little posts and some little string to keep people off the dunes, but we need something a little bit more substantial. They're working on getting exactly what is needed to be ordered, so that can be done.
And Mitch, on that point, I think there was general agreement that we'd use the same board.
Yes, they had. He actually was given the rope and the posts that the lifeguards use from around their chairs.
Okay.
And so John actually went out to the beach and was putting posts on the ground, estimating how much space between each post, so we can get a good number of what the supplies that are needed.
Thank you.
All right. So for the first aid for the operational period ending April 7th, the squad responded to 12 day calls, 10 night calls for a total of 22, of which 19 were for medical, 3 were fire, and there were no out of town mutual aid requested, and the squad requested no mutual aid. Total volunteer hours for the period were 66 hours, and they fulfilled 100% of their assignments for the period. They are still looking for volunteers for the first aid. They offer pre-training for qualified individuals. Go to their website and you can find out more information. And of course, they're also accepting applications for their cadet program for young people 16 to 18 years who are interested in serving Bradley Beach. For our fire department, for the month ended March 31st, 2026, they responded to 7 day calls, 6 night calls for a total of 16. 10 were for fire alarm activations, 2 were for carbon monoxide alarms, 2 cover assignments into Asbury Park, and 2 EMS patient lift assists. They also conducted 1 department-wide training on the new federal fire call reporting system. And they also conducted 2 community service events, our very successful annual egg hunt on the beachfront and the annual fish fry fundraiser. There were no requests for mutual aid from other fire departments, and they're happy to report that the department currently has 2 new applicants for firefighters. So still always the need for more volunteer firemen and women, and they offer free training. So anyone wishing to volunteer for the fire department may inquire about that at the borough's website. And lastly, one final and most important announcement near and dear to all of our hearts. Tomorrow, April 8th, Bradley Beach is hosting a bone marrow donor registry drive aimed at finding a match for a local teenager and expanding the national registry for all patients in need of a transplant. It's a completely non-invasive procedure. It's only 30-second swab of the inside of your cheek. If you're between the ages of 18 and 35 and looking to do a good deed, come get swabbed at Bradley Beach Firehouse between 3 and 8 p.m. tomorrow. And if you need any more incentive than helping save a life, anyone who swabs also gets some free ice cream at.
Sounds good. I will next turn to Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Great, thank you, Mayor. The Arts Council met yesterday, April 6th. Mark your calendar for the Acoustic Coffee House Singer-Songwriters Showcase, Sunday, May 3rd, 2 to 5 p.m. at Perfect Perk, 300 Main Street. The event is facilitated by Arts Council member Carol Lester with a lineup of local musicians. Registration information to follow as space will be limited. Plans are underway for the Arts Council's first annual Arts Fest, Saturday, June 27th at Briley Park. Calling all local Bradley Beach artists to participate in the visual art exhibit entitled Home is Where the Art Is at Posh Real Estate, which runs from June 27th to July 4th with an artist opening reception on the 27th. It's an opportunity exclusive to Bradley Beach artists to exhibit their work. So if you're a visual artist, a photographer, or a decorative artist, the Arts Council is accepting submissions through May 31st. So please see the Arts Council website for details and submission requirements. The Arts Council is seeking volunteers to help with the June 27th Arts Day event. Please reach out by email to artscouncil@bradleybeachnj.gov or go to the webpage. No experience is required, just enthusiasm for the arts in Bradley. The Arts Council again welcomes Lauren Saracine to its council. Thank you again, Mayor, for the appointment. And many thanks to her and all the Arts Council membership. Their next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 20th, 6:30 p.m. at the Biazzi Center. And on to Fletcher Lake Commission, which has not met since our last meeting. Their next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 9th, 6 p.m. here in this council chamber. And recreation, always very busy. Recreation's very busy in Bradley Beach. Thanks to everyone who showed up for Radio Bingo. It was a fun evening of 90s music, laughter, and prizes with about 100 players in attendance. Proceeds go to the Bradley Beach Ladies Auxiliary to support our firefighters and the Bradley Beach Recreation Department. The glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt was a great success with about 50 kids who participated. We cleared 600 eggs in a record 60 seconds. The kids and their families were thrilled to be there, and prizes collected by the Rec Committee and Rec Department were a big hit. Recreation is hosting a Mother's Day flag football. Friday, May 8th, 5:30 p.m. at the rec field. Rosa's Kitchen food truck will be on hand with a savory menu of items for sale. $20 to $25 per person registration fee includes food options and a t-shirt. Come join the fun and celebrate. The Senior Club's next meeting is Wednesday, March 23rd, noon to 3 at the Biazzi Center. Mahjong Open Play runs every Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Biazzi Center. Keep an eye out for spring bocce signups, which will begin in mid-May. Registration will be posted on the Recreation website. Summer Camp 2026 runs June 29th to August 14th, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Registration is closed. Camp is full. The waitlist has been activated and will be determined on a first-come, first-served basis. They're still accepting waitlist interest and will update by mid-May to early June. New this summer, Marine Science Camp, July 27th to the 31st, Monday to Friday, 9 to 2 p.m. for ages 5 to 14 at Memorial Park in Neptune City. The Rec Center, again, B.A. Doherty took my thunder, but they will have a grand reopening scheduled for April 25th with a festive ribbon cutting, and mayor and council are all invited to join. Watch for details. The rec committee's next meeting is Monday, April 13th, 6:30 PM at the rec center. That's my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Nowicki.
Thank you, Mayor. First, for the police activity report, just want to highlight that next week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Every year during the second week of April, telecommunications personnel and the public safety community are honored. This week-long event, started in 1981, celebrates and thanks our dispatchers who dedicate their lives to serving the public. We hope you all join in celebrating our dispatchers next week. So if you happen to call into the station, make sure, thank them. With that, our activity since the last meeting, a woman from neighboring Ocean Grove was arrested and charged with driving while intoxicated after she struck a car stopped in traffic. Patrolman Johnson witnessed the collision and watched the woman leave the scene. However, he quickly located her a short distance away. She was additionally charged with several motor vehicle violations. A subject from Eatontown arrested on an active contempt of court warrant following a motor vehicle stop. He was additionally charged with motor vehicle violations. And then police responded to a motor vehicle accident on Evergreen Avenue at the train tracks for a car struck by the train. The car was parked at the red light. However, the front was past the stop line and then slightly onto the tracks. When the train came by, the car did not move and was stuck. Luckily, there was no injuries. However, the police department continues to stress, never stop on the tracks or past the stop lines or gates at any railroad crossing. And be aware, when you're on Memorial Avenue, that sign comes up, no right turn, don't try to squeeze in there. Go drive around the block, go somewhere else and turn into town. Don't try to squeeze up inside that spot, or you're gonna get hit in the rear end as well hit by a train. So be very cautious at railroad crossings.
Because there's a big red sign that
It
says no right turn, no right turn.
And if you stop there, that's a violation, because you're stopping and so you're not allowed to stop in that right lane, that's a through traffic. So you're not allowed to sit there and wait for that right turn to, the train to go by. So people aren't aware of that, but it's the way it is. Police responded to a fight on the train and found one of the conductors was assaulted by two male subjects who fled once the train stopped. With the assistance of Neptune Township PD, the accused were located and brought back for investigation. An 18-year-old man from Burlington was arrested and turned over to New Jersey Transit Police. Additionally, the Bradley Beach Police Department investigated 10 motor vehicle accidents between March 15th and April 7th. And then regarding Sylvan Lake, again, I just want to, recognize the passing of Captain Al. It came as a shock to all of us. He was the person who really put the focus on environmental investment in the borough here, from the forest down at Shropshire Forest and Sylvan Lake. He was instrumental. But this gentleman, he had became renowned in his field of living shorelines and oyster beds, and not just here in New Jersey, but the whole eastern seaboard. And so he's going to be a big loss to his family, friends, but also to his craft that really made a difference beyond New Jersey. So again, just want to recognize all the work that he did. He actually spoke when we talked about Sylvan Lake here back in one of the workshops last year, and just a very knowledgeable individual, and he'll be missed. The Sylvan Lake commission meeting will be April 15th at 7 p.m. Here in the council chambers. And additionally, just a couple highlights on the projects. The bulkhead along Bradley Boulevard, the DOT just this past week authorized us to advertise for construction, so they've approved the plans. And so we're looking forward to advancing that project. The outfall pipe over on the beach where they've been working throughout the winter, the contractor has completed the installation of the outfall pipe. However, because the work in the dunes can't be advanced right now due to a moratorium on bird nesting, he won't be able to complete the restoration of the dunes until late fall later on, like November of this coming year, October, November, depending on Fish Game and Wildlife, letting them go back out there to bring sand in and restore those dunes back to the way they were prior to construction. At that time, we'll also plant those dune restoration as well. We're also waiting for DEP on the outfall gate. All the plans, comments have been received on permits. We're waiting for the negotiation with the contractor to figure out the final pricing and then passing that change order to replace that control structure gate at Sylvan Lake. And so we're hopeful that that's going to advance here shortly. We're just waiting for the DEP to go through their process and get that in place. And then that would be a report for Sylvan Lake. Thank you, Mayor.
Great.
Can I ask-
Go ahead, you go first.
I just want to ask, since the dune structure is going to remain as it is through the summer, and all of those big boulders, does it impact where all of the beach lockers are gonna go for Evergreen?
So they're gonna fence off areas that they don't want pedestrians, beach traffic to go. And then also that needs to get coordinated with the promenade construction that we're hopefully gonna get a permit to advance. And those boulders that are stacked out there are to be used for that promenade construction. So the engineers are working on that with DEP. But again, they're looking to fence off that area. I know some people used to cut back through where the maintenance shed was. You're not gonna be able to cut through there because that's where all this material were stored. And so they're gonna fence off that access just to keep pedestrians out of there. So it's clear where is it safe to walk and where it should not go. And so they're working that plan up as we speak.
So does it interfere with where all the beach lockers are? Cause a lot of the lockers went.
I don't specifically know where those beach lockers, big, I never had one, so I never paid much attention to where they were. But again, that would get worked out, based on with DPW and where they can put them, so I don't have a specific answer, if there's anything impacted or not.
Will the all the equipment that's there?
Oh, they're demobilizing them. All the backhoes are, if you notice, they're no longer back in that area. They're actually been leaving the site and they're cleaning up the site to put it into a place where it can be managed through the summer months and then be able to complete the dune restoration in the late fall. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll say, Councilman Nowicki, that you make it sound so easy, but I'm watching you daily and I'm involved with meetings with you and our business administrator, Mr. Doherty. And just to give everyone a sense of scale, the projects just surrounding Sylvan Lake, between the promenade, the outfall pipe, the gate repair, I'm drawing a blank, the bulkhead, thank you. We're talking 11-12 million dollars of activity, kind of all happening at once, roughly at once. And roughly in the same area. So and we're navigating, and I say we, but certain leads, including Mr. Nowicki and Mr. Doherty, we're navigating DEP approvals for beach amaranth plants and plover birds and nesting plovers. And there's so many moving parts and challenges along the way that you think you're clear sailing, and then the federal government weighs in, and when they're clear, someone in the state weighs in or someone at the county weighs in, and you're all ready to gear up production on one piece, but you got to stop on another piece. So it's an amazing maze of challenges that I'm really proud of this entire team for navigating us to the point we're at. It probably will burden our residents, especially those living along Bradley Boulevard, when we actually get to construction. And it's gonna be challenging because depending on when DEP says we can do this work, it may be in parts or large part of the summer months. The last thing we want to do is construction during the summer in a beach community. But all I can say is we will give much more communication as we go forward, so residents are at least aware of when, if there are infringements in their time and access to the beach, we'll be very strong in communicating that. That said, I know that once we weather the inconveniences that we're going to face, we'll look back on the accomplishments that we'll achieve in that lower end of town, southeastern end. And we'll look back with tremendous pride because the resiliency components of this, that we're going to protect all those residents in the south end as we extend this promenade, and that once we dredge this lake and do all the work and have a functioning gate that probably hasn't been functioning properly for a few decades. It's gonna just be a masterful changeover, but it's gonna cause us some pain as we move forward. I just want to give everyone a heads up on that. And more to come, a lot of communications to come.
Thank you, Mr.
Otherwise,
Chair.
we're done. Okay. I do have a few comments. One, I always try to keep these comments brief, but Ashley Fogley, our librarian, always gives me a list of like 500 things that the library is doing, and it really is impressive. I'm just going to read off quickly. I'm not going to mention dates and times. If any of this strikes you of interest, go to the Bradley Beach Library website, please. But just to give you an idea, there are weekly programs that have Legos and games for kids, drop-in crafts for kids, pick up crafts. They have a wellness book club. They have a music class for babies and toddlers and pre-K. They have a yarn club to bring your knitting and your crocheting projects. They have, get this one, I love this, historical tailoring dressmaking, where they teach sewing techniques of the late 18th century. They have Spanish English conversion group. They have a monthly Mahjong group. They have Read to a Dog. Children in K through fourth grades are invited to practice their reading skills by reading to a dog. There are various multilingual programs, so please check the website to see what's available. Now there are 3 specific announcements. Friends of the Library afternoon tea fundraiser. So there is a tea fundraiser for Friends of the Library on Sunday, April 26th from 2 to 4 p.m. And there'll be awards and 50-50 raffle tickets, awards for the best hat. There's a One Beach, One Read program for 2026. And the book is Have You Seen Louise Velez by Catherine Ryan Hyde. That is on May 12th at the Bradley Beach Firehouse. And then there's a middle grade One Beach, One Read called Squished by Megan Wagner Lloyd on Thursday, May 14th at the Bradley Beach Elementary School. So that is a capsulized version of what was provided to me to relate to the borough. I know others have mentioned this, but we had a wonderful fish fry sponsored by our Fire and First Aid back on March 22nd. It was great attendance. I haven't heard how much they earned from that event. I don't know if anyone else has, but it looked to be very successful. It was standing room only when we arrived. Also, the Bradley Beach Elementary PTA held a Candyland gift auction, and that was on March 29th. That was also a full house at the Ascension Church. And packed people, a lot of people from out of town. I was amazed, even at our table, but they look forward to this event every year, and it's a great fundraiser for the PTA. So those are my highlights. With that, I'll conclude my comments, and we'll open it up to public comment. Yes.
Hello, my name is Beth Kepler, 504 Central. I'm gonna read my statement tonight, rather than, additive. My statement is as follows. Why bother amending, introducing, and passing ordinances or requiring zoning permits if we're not going to enforce them? Why have a land use board, a master plan, and pay the exorbitant professional salaries that we do if we're not going to follow through fairly, equitably, and lawfully? Why grant variances by resolution if we're not going to enforce them when the legal contract between the borough and the homeowner is violated? Selective enforcement is unacceptable. Our code department is a costly, bloated paper tiger. Everyone can watch and listen to the audio, video surveillance camera footage for themselves on my YouTube channel under my name, Beth Kepler. On the February 14th and 20th videos, you will see Rich Davidson, Pam Valentine, Ted Bianchi, and Bill Young. I'm here to inform residents how the code department, under the leadership of Pamela Valentine, director of our community development, has betrayed us, lied to us, and weaponize this town's ordinances against us, and why every single homeowner in Bradley Beach should be outraged and demanding answers. Last August, the code office ordered an illegal condemnation placard be placed on our garage. They stated this violation order was based on the false statement repeated in 3 separate emails that acting code officer Ted Bianchi had inspected our garage. We presented security surveillance camera footage, and it proves that Ted Bianchi never set foot inside of our garage, not once. Not Ms. Valentine nor Mr. Bianchi ever produced a written report of the findings of his inspection as is required by law. When we finally forced the truth out, they quietly rescinded the illegal placard with 0 conditions, requirements, or any corrective action whatsoever required on our part, a silent admission that the entire exercise was a sham. Then this February, a few weeks ago, the same 3 individuals involved in the illegal placarding of our garage last fall, based on a fraudulent inspection, targeted us again. This is because they were allowed to get away with the illegal garage placarding based on a lie of a fraudulent inspection that never happened. This time, they were emboldened and went even further. On February 14th, RE/MAX agent Rich Davidson, working for the seller of 214 Fifth Avenue, was caught in the act, dead to rights on our security video camera, cutting with a power saw, moving and reconstructing with an air nail gun, and destroying our fence, all without a required zoning fence permit, without a complete certified 2-scale property survey, and without our knowledge, authorization, or consent. Rich Davidson can be seen and heard on video in his own arrogant words, telling the plumber who was helping him, quote, "I hope this will suffice and we can get around the legal notarizing side of it." That is a clear, direct, explicit, on-camera confession that he was premeditatedly, intentionally, knowingly, and deliberately breaking the law. The cut fence was left unstable and caused an estimated $1,200 in property damage. We did the right thing. We reported it to the Borough Code Office on February 19th. So what did the Code Office do? They sent Bill Young with an 8-foot ladder to climb up, peer into our backyard like a peeping Tom, snap pictures of our yard, and then issue a violation to us for the exact damage Rich Davidson caused, and the exact same violations about our garage, again, that we had just resolved a few months earlier. When confronted about both the bogus garage violation in October and this fence violation in February, the borough quietly rescinded both because they were baseless, without merit, clear acts of weaponized government in retaliation for us daring to speak out critically against the municipal government or its representatives. Kim Humphrey, Leonard Guida, Larry Fox, Meredith DeMarco, and Greg Ferenbach are all gone, and that's good. However, the residual disease is still here. The same officials who lied about our garage and who protected Rich Davidson are still walking the halls of the borough with impunity. And here is what should make every one of you seethe with anger. Rich Davidson is getting special treatment. Not only does the code office refuse to enforce its own fence ordinance against Rich Davidson or the seller he represented, it appears they coached Davidson how to get around being cited because of a technicality which can later be seen on video an hour after the inspection had concluded, deconstructing the reconstruction originally performed February 14th on video, thus absolving them of being issued a summons in response to our complaint of unpermitted fence reconstruction. If Rich Davidson is the listing agent for a house bordering your property, beware. If he needs to cut a fence, move a boundary, or get around the legal side of it to close a deal, you can be sure this borough code department under Pam Valentine has proven it will look the other way and then punish you for complaining by mailing you a violation via certified mail return receipt requested, courtesy of you, the taxpayer. We gave you video and audio timestamp surveys and emails. The choice was made to protect Rich Davidson and punish the victims who spoke up. Mr. Cannon stated in a letter to us, preliminarily, I've determined that this dispute over the fence is a private civil matter insofar as it does not involve public property, rights of way, nor any interest. As such, you will need to obtain personal counsel and avail yourself of civil remedies to address any alleged encroachments or fencing on your property or your neighbor's properties. The borough does not adjudicate private property disputes. The borough only enforces local property code standards. End quote. This is not a civil dispute or exclusively a code and zoning enforcement matter. This is a human resource and a criminal matter. Variances are legal contractual agreements between the borough and a property owner. When these variances are approved by borough resolution, if violated by the homeowners, it is not a civil dispute. There is an obligation on the part of the borough to uphold that covenant. This is government abuse, selective enforcement, and weaponization of government against residents who dare to criticize and condemn. Through this process, we've been repeatedly pleaded with to get an attorney and take it to civil court. What that does is silences me. It hides their bad actions from you, absolves them from any accountability for their actions, and then asks the residents to pay for the revolving door of lawsuits that emanates from lack of enforcement of ordinances and failure to defend variances when violated. There's no accountability in that. There's no change of process. They commit the bad acts, the borough gets sued, the residents pay taxes, increase, rinse, wash, repeat. Enough. We will not stay silent. We will not let this be swept under the rug like it was with the Fox administration. The residents of Bradley Beach deserve fair, equitable, and consistent enforcement, not a protected class that permits for retaliation against us, critics of the conduct of certain borough officials and representatives, and reporting those behaviors and actions to the appropriate oversight authorities. To the council and the mayor, the ordinances listed on tonight's agenda don't matter worth the paper they're written on if the corruption and the criminals are still allowed to remain. We've provided this borough with audio and video proof to support what needs to be done. Mayor Gubitosi, it's time to clean house, please, once and for all. We deserve better than Lion Larry's leftovers. Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, I think what needs to be said here is these are Ms. Kepler's accusations and you're entitled to your perspectives. We've turned these questions over to our legal counsel and they're reviewing them, but I would just caution everyone to understand this is one side of a story and our employees and perhaps others will have, their side of that story.
May I respond one thing? I just want to let you know, to reiterate, it's not just allegations. The videos are on a YouTube channel, a public YouTube channel that anybody can see under my name, Beth Kepler, BETHKEPLER, and they can see the videos that law enforcement, the council, and the code have had the opportunity to see.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Davidson.
Yes, Rich Davidson, 304 4th Avenue. I'd just like to rebuttal Ms. Kepler's comments. This was brought to her attention many times. One, I did not cut her fence. I was there to allow access of a contractor. She received ample notice that this was going to happen. She never responded to Jeff Beekman, the attorney for the buyers, and to Keith Arcamano, the attorney for the estate. On her accusations, on her hidden camera and eavesdropping, which by the way is illegal in the state of New Jersey, this was brought to her attention also. Besides a possible defamation lawsuit, she mentioned that I was also there overlooking the fence, which actually it was a code enforcement officer of Bradley Beach. All her accusations was brought to her attention, denying the fact that it was me in any of these cases. However, here she is tonight reinforcing this. So one, it's a flagrant lie. This was properly brought to her attention. She sent an email to the estate. I don't want to get into the real estate aspect of it, that
provide a survey, the fence can be moved, there was no boundary line dispute. Can put on the lot line, after that, she refused to respond to anybody. So. Whatever accusations, she has a track record of throwing stuff against the wall without any support, without any attorneys. Nothing is ever transpired to be truth, there's no merit to anything. I don't wanna go back, but if I recall past counsel, she accused Larry Fox of racketeering. She accused our late chief of police of planting a listening device in her bathroom. So I'm apparently the fall end of this track record of false accusations. So that being said, I just want to clear my name. I don't know what her problem was. I never spoke to her in my life. But again, I'm not gonna sit idle and not defend myself. And after tonight, I think I will take the next step and bring into legal representation to shut this down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other comments or questions from the audience? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, seeing no one, oh, yes, sir, Mr. West, who snuck it in there.
Well, I didn't know how to follow that, but. Real small comment about, the leaf flow, 2026.
I just need you to state your name and address.
Continue with it.
Thank you.
As a somebody who hates leaf blowers and the noise and stuff, but also has worked in the industry of machinery. Like electrics are not the answer. So we have to find something in the middle, something, an emerging small industry or machine. I think Shauna made reference to most of these machines are what are known as two-cycle motors, not two-stage. I think two-cycle, which are noisier, dirtier. They do work very well, but they have all these bad issues. Moving forward, a lot of these, they are starting to come out with four-cycle machines. In fact, I just bought a snow blower this year because it does snow down at Bradley Beach apparently. Yeah. So I went out and bought a new snow blower. It's a four-cycle snow blower, and it shocked me. It actually has a catalytic converter on it to reduce emissions, much like a regular automobile. So I don't know if it's an answer. It's not a solution. I don't know if you can mandate that landscapers get four-cycle machines. They are probably more expensive and more complicated, but it's a stepping stone in between, maybe. Just like once upon a time, all dirt bikes with two-cycle, and you could hear them 5 miles away, and then most of them have now moved to four-cycle. Quieter, more efficient, cleaner. So just as a jot of information that maybe you can work something out for. Just thought. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else in the room or on Zoom? Seeing no other hands raised?
Nope. Anthony.
Oh, Anthony Velardo. Yes, sir. Mr. Velardo, your hand is raised. You are recognized. Keep sneaking these hands out. Anthony Velardo.
Anthony, you muted.
Hello.
Yeah.
There we go. You guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I was muted for some reason from the host. But again, Anthony Velardo, 317 3rd Ave. Just a few comments after hearing the little bit more from your side on the gas versus electric leaf blower. So New Jersey proposed bill S623 gives a minimum 2-year grandfather period, which I find reasonable, but I don't find the 30-day grandfather period that the town is possibly proposing. I don't find that reasonable because after the next meeting, which would be the 21st, that gives roughly only 60 days compared to the state's 2 years. Another thing is that we compared the batteries to construction equipment where they're using a power drill, which only run for a couple seconds at a time in different intervals, where an electric blower is high input, high output. That's why the batteries drain so fast. And to compare that to gas prices, that would be like the gas prices more than doubling every year. And that would be the cost to constantly replace these batteries and the cost of businesses, which would get passed down to consumers. And then my last question would be is to the mayor, who you said that you would like to hear, from the town and how they feel in the general population. So how is the town going to collect the public's opinion on approval or disapproval towards these electric blowers?
Any other comments? I'll answer your question, but anything else to say, Anthony? Okay, my comment was meant to say, we want to hear people's opinions. We're gonna collect those opinions as we're doing tonight. Folks like you speaking up and telling us your perspectives and your insights and your facts. And presumably, if we do a good job of encouraging attendance, we'll have a broader array of representation. So the council is, as knowledgeable as we can be between the studying we've done and what we learned from the public. That's what we'll use to make our final decision. Anyone else want to comment on that?
Just that we'll continue to solicit opinions as we go around town. I know I've spoken to many homeowners, many landscapers in town as I walk around walking the dogs. So I'm very open and inviting people to come to the meetings and express their opinions.
I'll share with everyone, I had input from a couple of landscapers over the past few weeks, and they seemed somewhat nonplussed, so I was surprised but happy to hear, people's perspectives, but it's interesting, they're not always consistent.
I had one landscaper who mentioned to me, he thought it was a great idea. He didn't like having to bother the people who live in Bradley Beach. He always put his gas powered leaf blower on the lowest setting anyway.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the audience? Seeing no other comments or questions, I will make, let's see. There is no executive session. I will make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you all.
Isn't it hungry enough, thank you? Oh, thank you.